All right, we're going to call this city council meeting to order at 6:07 on 9/14. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Mays?
Present.
Ms. Popla? Present. Mr. Nelson?
Present.
Mr. Freeman?
Present.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Winfrey?
Present.
Ms. Galloway?
Present.
Ms. Van Buren?
Present.
Mr. Kincaid?
Present.
Thank you.
Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and the prayer will be offered by Councilwoman Galloway.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
All minds are clear. Heavenly Father, we thank you for an opportunity to serve your people. God, I pray that the request that Solomon made before you when he said, Lord, give therefore thy servant an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and evil, for who is able to judge this thy so great a people? God, give us wisdom, give us compassion and understanding for one another, and God, give us the ability to walk in unity. We bless you and we love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Can we have a moment of silent prayer, remain standing for Ms. Vera Rising and Mr. Roy Marble?
That's the same
Got it.
thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, first item on our agenda are a couple of special orders. I believe the first one's going to be rather lengthy, so I'm asking Councilwoman Galloway if we can move, if there's no objections, move Mr. Wright's recognition up. About the other one?
Mr. President, you say it's rather lengthy. How long do they anticipate it to be?
If it's more than 5 minutes, it's probably lengthier than maybe Mr. Wright would want to sit through until,
So we don't know?
I don't know.
The administration know? About a half an hour presentation on the water. Okay.
That's right.
If I can have Mr. Lewis Wright come to the front podium, please. I just want to read a certificate of recognition that we have for Mr. Wright. There's far more things that he does for the community, but I just put a couple of things on the certificate. And so it says, Certificate of Recognition, be it resolved on behalf of the citizens of the city of Flint, the Flint City Council is pleased to honor Lewis M. Wright for his committed service to the 7th Ward by maintaining the beauty of Burr Boulevard and his years of dedicated service to the annual South Side Reunion. By order of the Flint City Council of the City of Flint, Michigan, this 14th day of September, 2015. Thank you so much, Mr. Wright. And I don't know if you want to say anything.
I myself consider myself only one beacon. I consider myself only one beacon of this community. Every community has these people that come out and do. And I'm just one of many, and hopefully we find many more who will follow that urge and become a beacon for others to follow. Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is a special order to deal with water quality that was called by the mayor and Ms. Henderson.
Well, good evening, Council President, Council members, members of the public. I want to offer a few remarks along with the City Administrator, and then we have a more detailed presentation. We knew there'd be a great deal of interest in this topic, so rather than try to do it in the committee room, we thought it was important to bring it out into the larger hall. Now, access to water, we all recognize it's a basic human right. And we have to rise to the challenge with fixing Flint's water problems. In my view, we have a responsibility to go above and beyond and consider all the information that's been available to us from our customers, our partners, our researchers, and regulators. And I want you to know that we're working very hard every single day to address the current complications as quickly as possible. 3 quick points. First, it is important to take the concerns that residents question seriously as it relates to lead. Lead is a contaminant that has been a problem in every urban environment for a number of decades, going back to concentrations of leaded gasoline and lead paint. Lead service lines and lead in household plumbing always presents a risk. And the city has agreed with the recommendation to add anti-corrosion into the treatment process, and we'll work as quickly as possible to get that in place. So that's the treatment aspect. In the meantime, we're going to continue to ask residents who have concerns to take advantage of the free and independent testing that's being made available to them, and to also flush their systems before use, as the federal, state, and county health guidelines have all recommended for a number of years. Second, the city has to address the long-term infrastructure issues. I'm renewing my call for the state and federal investments in infrastructure. This came up earlier in this year. We made it very clear to our partners that there was a gap in the city's capital improvement plan. We know what we need to do, but we didn't have all the funds in place to do that work, and we certainly can't ask our residents to bear that burden. It's going to take support from our partners. You have a copy of the letter. Today, I've submitted a letter to Governor Snyder requesting $30 million to accelerate Flint's capital improvement program and to start a new Healthy Homes initiative to replace lead service lines and plumbing. So I'm asking the council tonight to consider supporting this request, and in the business section of your meeting to consider supporting this letter to the governor. It's critical that we have the resources we need to fill the gap in our capital improvement plan, and it's also imperative that we respond to the new concerns around lead, regardless of what water source the city uses now or in the future. Lead pipes present a risk. So I want us to deal with the fundamental problem, and I want us to begin replacing lead service lines and indoor lead plumbing. We can include that in our capital improvement plan when we work with the Planning Commission to get that document updated as a precursor to our formal budget, but there's no reason to wait. We need to make that request now, and I'd ask for your unanimous support from the governor for $30 million in capital investments. The third point is that I certainly expect results. When we work together as a team, we can get results. We expect Flint's water to be 100% safe, and just like the effort that was made to reduce TTHM and bring Flint back into compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act, the effort to minimize lead exposure and fix our aging infrastructure will also be successful. We have a strong plan, and we'll get results if we get a partnership on the resources that we need to get this job done. Flint deserves nothing less than total cooperation on these important issues. And with that, I'd like to bring up the city administrator to talk about our partnerships and other aspects of our work around water quality. Thank you.
Mr. President. All right.
We continue as administration to work closely with the DEQ and the EPA to ensure that we are in compliance with the Safe Water Drinking Act. Tonight, what we would like to do is present to you project status updates and talk about the actual Safe Water Drinking Act, water system roles and responsibilities, trihalomethane, TTHM status of where we are with that, lead and copper rule, so that can get some understanding of that and what this means, what's happening. Typical household service lines, we will be able to demonstrate what that looks like. And then also, we will present solutions as well. And at the end, if you all have any questions, you can submit those to us in writing. And what we plan to do so that all questions are answered is to publicize that on our city website. And I would like to take this time to introduce Howard Croft, our DPW director, and also he has his colleagues with him as well. We have a great staff, very qualified staff that's on top of everything that's happening, that have the certifications to be able to run facilities such as a water treatment facility, water filtration plant, a distribution system. They have those certifications that there are only a few in the state of Michigan have. So I think that's something that the city can definitely be proud of, that we have those individuals here that are committed to the city of Flint and working with us and ensuring that it makes me feel safe that we have people with those certifications that can oversee this process. So without further information, I'll have Howard to come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and City Administrator. Good evening, Council and residents. What I'm going to present tonight, I'm not going to take a very long time. My goal is to try to update the Council and the people on where the administration stands, where the utility division stands on the water system as a whole, and some of the recent developments. I've passed out to everybody up there, or had passed out, a copy of the brief PowerPoint that we're going to go through. This will be made available on the city website, I believe, by tomorrow, so that everybody can access that. The brief overview talks about the few items that I'd like to talk about, which are recent concerns and typical household service lines, water system roles and responsibilities, other city actions, lead and copper solutions, infrastructure planning documents, revenue streams, and utility planning documents. The first slide that you see is an example of what a typical household service line might look like. You see the city water main generally is going to run down the middle of the street. There's a line that runs from the city water main generally to a curb box, which is where we access and turn water on and off. That's generally located very close to the property line. In the city of Flint, that line that runs from our transmission main to that box is generally galvanized, probably about 70 to 80% of our lines. From the curb box into the house is the service line that leads into the resident inside plumbing. In many, many occasions throughout the United States, there are several solder joints that can occur. Anytime you're changing metals, if you're going from galvanized to the curb box, or if you're going from lead to copper, there's a solder joint that potentially can leach lead into water. I say this because lead is not a concern just in the city of Flint. This occurs across the United States of America. Specifically, many Midwestern cities that have antiquated infrastructure are experiencing lead concerns, something that, as we've talked to many folks, the EPA has taken a very close look at. So I want to talk for a minute about what are the roles and responsibilities to protect the public health. First, we look at the fact that we have an Environmental Protection Agency that's an agency of the U.S. government whose mission it is to protect the human health and the environment. They generally write the contaminant levels that are generally approved by Congress. They set those. We have, in the state, we have a Department of Environmental Quality. That's an agency in the state of Michigan charged with promoting management of the state's air, land, and water resources to support a sustainable environment. One of the ways that's done in the city of Flint is with Public Act 399. The Michigan Safe Drinking Water Act, I'm holding here in my hand, is 289 pages. This is Public Act 399 that the DEQ uses to govern the municipal water systems across the state of Michigan. And this is what we refer to when we look at our role and our responsibility. Third, we have an engineering company. Many municipal water systems use an engineering company for all of their design work, all of their development work. DWSD uses an engineering company. Our main engineering company is Lockwood, Andrews, and Newnham. They were responsible for the $48 million upgrade that occurred at our water plant in the mid-2000s. They've been on board with us in developing the plan to use to go to the Flint River, and they will be on board with us going forward to the KWA, where they are also being procured for engineering work that's being done. And then we get to the City of Flint Utilities Division. We're generally the owners and the day-to-day operators of the Flint water system. We oversee any construction that occurs. We work with the engineers and communicate with the Department of Environmental Quality, which has requirements that we must meet in order to provide water. Among those requirements are that we are required to have a state licensed F1 operator that oversees the water plant operations. Now, my right over here is our F1 certified operator in charge. This is Mike Glasgow, who is our utilities administrator. Next to him is our licensed S1 operator, Rob Benson. His responsibility is to oversee the distribution system. These are the highest credentials you can receive for those two categories, and we're required by the DEQ to have those. But I want to make mention, in the recent months, we've added a second S1 person that we have out of our service center over the distribution system. That's Rob is acting as a mentor to him. We're currently recruiting for an additional F1 operator that we will embed in our plant, which would give us 2 of each. Of the 3 individuals we have, all 3 of them have been solicited by other municipalities over the last year. They've all 3 chosen to stay with the City of Flint. One of the things that's not on here, that's not our responsibility, is to make decisions on what's safe or isn't safe. That lies with the Department of Environmental Quality to make those determinations. What we do take on as our responsibility is to listen to the residents and to ask questions. It's not to disagree with anyone that does any testing or has a concern. We take those concerns, we gather them, and we push those upstream to find out what recommendations should come from the regulatory agencies. What actions can the city take? One of the things we've done over the last year is we've consulted with various industry experts. Many of the people know here, we've done tours through the plant. We've had people that have come from California and from Georgia that have given us additional insight into what their experience has shown dealing with water. We've developed a written and prioritized infrastructure plan on what our plans are into the future for the infrastructure. One of the things that's come out of dealing with the other experts in that plan is a successful implementation plan for TTHMs. A year ago, there was significant concern on what would occur out of TTHMs. Through the bringing together of industry experts and working with the DEQ, we came up with a plan, we came up with the cost. That plan was implemented and it was successful. As right now, we are no longer at this point out of compliance. We've developed a draft corrosion optimization plan ready to present to the DEQ. One of our experts, Veolia, recommended corrosion control as their second recommendation along with other changes. Our first plan, though, was to get the granulated activated carbon installed, which we were successful with. Once that was completed in mid-August, we received guidance from the DEQ to move forward with the corrosion plan. That was in mid-August. We've developed advisory committees, which include EPA and DEQ representatives. We had an EPA representative from Cincinnati who specialized in TTHM, came from Cincinnati, participated in our technical advisory committee, and his input was instrumental because it aligned with the other experts on what we were going to do. In early July, we got recommendations that came from the EPA on lead experts that they had on board. Again, first, we finished the granulated activated carbon being installed. We had guidance in mid-August from the DEQ to move forward with corrosion control. I've talked to the lead experts, both from the EPA. They will be coming to Flint within the next few weeks, and we will structure our next technical advisory meeting around their involvement here at the City of Flint. And we expect these committees to remain in place through the transition of the KWA. It's important to remember when we're talking about lead, what causes that and what leaches it is not going to go away when the KWA comes here. It's a problem that exists, as the mayor said, and as our city administrator said, through many parts of the United States of America, and there are many actions that are being taken. So what are the current solutions that we have? Well, we have an array of solutions right now. First, short term. Obviously, we want everybody to be comfortable. So the first thing we talk about is if you do have a concern, flush your pipes before drinking and only use cold water for cooking and drinking. That is for the comfort of the residents. Certainly when we flush hydrants, the same message comes out. If people are uncomfortable with the water that comes out, flush your hydrants for a while and then go forward. Public education. We produce a frequently asked question sheet, which I have in my hand here, which everyone should have gotten a copy of. I believe there were copies in the back. This also will be posted on the city's website. This contains EPA and DEQ approved information on lead and copper on what to do to feel more safe. The city will engage in greater public education on all the things that we've done and going forward on an ongoing basis. Midterm solutions, the corrosion optimization. Again, corrosion optimization, we considered that at the beginning of it. There was data that we were required to pull. The DEQ guided us in going forward with that in the middle of August. We have a draft copy that is ready that will go to the DEQ in the very near future. And testing. From the very beginning, we've talked about getting your water tested. The more we test, the more comfort we think we can bring. We have a dedicated website that people can, a dedicated email address that people can use. We've changed the prompts on the phone message at the water plant. We encourage anyone, get your water tested. We're providing that free of charge. Even though there's a requirement, we're not restricted to that requirement. And then finally, long term, is to change all the lead service lines. We're reviewing options right now that would allow for all lead service lines to be changed over time. And I might mention, these solutions are noted, again, right in Public Act 399. They're noted, many of them, as requirements after you reach an action level or exceed it, which by the DEQ standards we have not reached yet, but we're already progressively moving forward on those items. But I must make note, like the mayor said, if we were to change all the service lines, if we were to assume that there were 15,000 out there at approximately $2,000 to $3,000 each, we're looking at between $30 and $40 million to change out all the service lines. So how might we do that? How might we come up with a plan? This is the plan that over the last couple of years the city's utility department has developed. We have a 50-year master plan. Section 8 of that 50-year master plan talks about infrastructure projects over the next 50 years. Those projects come from all of our facilities and work that needs to be done there. It comes from underground concerns. It comes from a professionally engineered water reliability study. We also use the same things to build a 10-year rate study by Raftalis that points out how much money should go into capital improvements on a system of this size on an annual basis. We have a 5-year capital improvement plan, Section 6, pages 47 through 48. It's right there on the table that, again, identify the priorities that are most important to the infrastructure. In our 2-year budget that we submitted to Treasury, we identified the things that would get us to the KWA and would launch us down the road of repairing the infrastructure or doing the things that should be done. Our water reliability study, which was done in 2011 and upgraded again December of 2013, has been the foundation of all of the plans that we've made. Every one of these documents in written form is on the table right there, and all of those are available to the council and to the public. In addition, with the 2-year budget, we created a utility objectives and tasks. We've talked about the strategic plan. We've amended that where there are specific objectives and tasks underneath that to accomplish those. Those have been amended since 2016. Again, this is a document that can be made available to the public where everyone can see the direction the city is going and how we plan to get there. It's important when I go through this because when we talk to legislatures and others, when we're looking for funding, there are a handful of questions that they ask. A, do you have a plan? B, do you have priorities? And C, do you have the capacity to implement that? All 3 of those, we've proven the ability to do that over the last 2 years. Where are the revenue streams to come from? First, we have a maintenance budget. Every year we sit down and go through what is it going to take to get through next year. Everyone's familiar with many of the main breaks we're having and other occurrences that are going out there underground that we haven't seen since any of us were small. We have a problem spotter now where we're beginning to attach better numbers to what it costs to do that to help enlighten everyone when we build that budget. For projects that are outside of that may be a little bit more costly, we look to put those as a priority in the capital improvement plan. So that capital improvement plan, which is generally between $9 and $11 million a year, we prioritize something that becomes a major concern. If something is outside of those 2, the DEQ has several funding opportunities that are available. The DWRF, which is a drinking water revolving loan, which is specific to water projects. This is what funded the $48 million upgrades to the plant in the mid-2000s. This allows us for a big project to spread it out over time. The SRF, which is the sewer revolving loan fund, which is specific to sewer projects. SAW grant, Stormwater Asset Management and Wastewater Grants, the SWQIF, which is Strategic Water Quality Initiatives, and the S2, which provides funding for engineering services in the sewer projects. Just this past week, I had a communication with Eric Ponser or Pocan from the DEQ, who is the person responsible for these grants. So we are on the list for a SAW grant right now, and we are evaluating what might we apply for in the DWRF. These are things that we can come in from the DPW committee to talk about options the city has, but these are the things that we look at when we talk about how do we get something funding. These are some of the options. And finally, on the last page, just a brief look at what our project status was. What you'll see here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different projects that in this fiscal year we have accomplished or are nearly complete. Almost $7.5 million of projects having to deal with our infrastructure, having to deal with water, many of which people have said they never thought they'd see all of this occur. This is the proof that we can accomplish it. All of this, like it says here, while we're repairing hundreds of main breaks, while we're having dozens of valve replacements being done. The work here has allowed us to know more about what's going on underground than most places in the Midwest that have the same antiquated infrastructure. These are the tools that are allowing us to go to the legislature, that are backing us up when we say we have a request for funding, because we have a plan to deal with it, we have priorities set in place, and we've shown the capacity to get the work done. We've got a fantastic team. We're committed to the city. We're committed to safe water for everyone, and we will relentlessly work to accomplish those goals. I thank you for your time.
So just before we go to asking questions, they've said that they're not going to answer questions tonight, but that they will take questions and they will put those questions on the website along with a response or an answer to those questions. I know that we have, how many people on the yellow? 5?
Yeah,
Five people have specifically asked to come up and talk about agenda items.
That's fine, Mr. President, but if I may.
And I'm not done yet.
I don't have to, okay.
I'm not done yet. So if those 5 people have specific questions, staff is going to write them down and include those with any questions that council may have now, or if you have questions that you want to submit in writing tomorrow, so that those can be included on the website as well. And they have said that they will respond to those questions by the end of next week, and those will be up on the website, the city's website, by the end of next week, so that everybody is looking at the same information. As far as comments now about that specific thing, let's try to limit our comments to 5 minutes. And then we can move on with the meeting, and if we have something more, then we can do that after the meeting.
That'll be fine, Mr. President. I would encourage the residents to stay to the end of the meeting, because over the years as a city council observer, this has been the most restrictive council that I've had to ever communicate on in my life. Really, I'm a political person, and I know that when the mayor and the administration comes in a council meeting, the media is here. And to me, this was nothing more than a media show, because all of the information that I've just received, we already had. And then when you come in the meeting, except for the letter to the governor asking for $30 million, I've seen you shaking your head, Mr. Mayor. I know that Ms. Weaver sent a letter to the federal government asking for help. And I know, excuse me, I didn't interrupt you when you talked. So what I'm saying, and it messes up my train of thought in this so-called 5 minutes, that's wrong. So I'm telling you, the information that I heard you say, except for the letter from the governor, it seems political to me. It seems political that you want to come up in the middle of this meeting, and then the president who supports you don't want us to ask questions, and Ms. Henderson, who my job is to ask questions, that's my greatest job under the charter, is to inquire, gonna tell me to submit my questions on a piece of paper. I'm not out to submit questions on a piece of paper. I'm for open, honest, transparent government. That means in a public meeting, this is as open, as honest, and transparent as you can be. So this is a horse and pony show. It's a political ploy because, Mayor, right now we got people finna come in here from Virginia Tech that disputes the city. The city in the MDEQ is saying the water is safe, but Virginia Tech, a university, is saying it's not. The DEQ and you is responsible for pushing that button, feeding us this poison river water. In other words, Mr. Early was here, and so he's an agent of the state. The governor is liable, in my opinion, for this bad water we've been getting. You and the city attorney and some of these council people who support you is liable for the high prices that we've been charged illegally since 2011. And so now it's election time. And so Mr. President, who chairs these meetings, he want to cover for you. He don't want the questions to be answered in the public. He don't want people to hear that Mr. Bade, who is the legal attorney who should have told you in 2011 it was unlawful to raise them. We shouldn't have had to wait for Mr. Heyman and the Court of Appeals to rule 3 times. Mr. Kincaid, who it wasn't no emergency manager, he should have held the hearing, brought you in here, put you under oath, swore you in, and if you raised them illegally, the council have the power to remove you. But Scott Kincaid, Josh Freeman, Jackie Poplar, and every other majority 5 who be here cloaking and covering for you is the same ones cloaking and covering now. But it's a new day in the city of Flint. Not only do we have Virginia Tech, we got some experts from the EPA coming in. They offered to come in months and weeks ago. You didn't accept them. This horse and pony show that you just didn't happen until Ron Fong and the media started covering what Virginia Tech said. So, Mr. Freeman, I'm appalled that you would sit here in our council meeting and concur that we have to ask them questions in writing. We want to ask questions in an open meeting. We want to put EPA under oath. We want to put is that funny, Mr. Wallen? Is it funny that the city council can put people under oath and inquire based upon our charter? Do you disrespect our charter? The last time this group put somebody under oath, it was looking at Don and Patsy Lou as to whether or not they had used the park. Now we're dealing with kids who can have development slow formation as it relates to mental and physical, and you laugh because I want to put regulators under oath? Is that what you and Ms. Henderson laughing at? Because, I beg your pardon, is he in order?
Councilman, your
No, it ain't the councilman. The mayor is out of order.
Councilman, your time
I
has
know
expired.
my time is up, but let me tell you this,
No,
Mr. Freeman.
no.
It'll come a time where I'll get arrested for the kids of this city.
Okay.
It'll come a time where you'll
Councilman.
keep telling us our time is up, and the citizens will tell you, the mayor, and your time is up. See, time is of essence.
Councilman,
Now, I would move that
I'm
we have a
asking-
special meeting
I'm-
because what y'all doing,
Councilman, I'm going to rule you out of order. then.
I know
If
you
that's
will.
what- if that's
I
what
know
want
you
it to
will.
come
I'm
down to.
hey, Mr. Chairman,
And you're
can I
disrupting
move
the
that we?
conduct of this meeting and are unreasonably causing a disturbance, Councilman. Please do not say anything further unless you have been recognized by me to address this body. If you persist in disrupting this meeting, Councilman, or anyone else, you will be in violation of Flint City Code Section 3112, disorderly conduct and disorderly persons, and will be subject to arrest for a misdemeanor. This is your final warning to stop disrupting this meeting. So, Councilman, your time has expired. I was very clear at the outset.
should have checked him when he interrupted me in
At
my
the
time.
beginning, that we would limit our comments to 5 minutes as an opportunity to ask questions.
I would appeal the decision of the chair, or the
Question-
ruling of the chair.
Questions of order are not appealable. So
They aren't?
your motion is improper.
Oh, okay.
So I'm assuming then that you will submit your questions in writing, since I did not hear one asked there.
Point of
Council-
information, did you
Council-
rule me out of order and you say it's not appealable
That's what I just
under our rules?
yes, under Robert's rules or other
That's the craziest
rules
thing
are-
I ever done heard in my
not
life.
appealable. Which you should know since you chaired the Rules Committee. Councilwoman Poplar, you... Councilman Nelson? Councilman Davis?
Okay. Well, first, I would like to say thanks for everyone who attended this meeting to attend this meeting. I thank you very much. But first and foremost, I do like to be open and transparent with everybody in this room. Sometimes truth is not good for us. We don't like it because it's not popular. Sometimes we like to hear things that makes us feel all right. But I want to be transparent and honest with each and every one of you in this audience. City Council don't have no power at all. We under, but let me finish. Let me finish.
Ma'am?
Under
both of
Public
you?
Act, under Public Act 436, the state has taken over. Any decision that we make always got to go to the Transition Advisory Board, and they make the last decision if it's going to be active or not. The emergency manager told us when we made a motion to the floor to move us back to the Detroit-Flint River. We decided to put a vote to the table, and it was passed. Emergency manager said it was incomprehensible. When the emergency manager left in April, he put his final and last order. His final and last order was that nothing that he has put in place can be amended or changed into a year after he is out of office. Now, I understand. My family drinks this water too. My family takes showers in this water. When I leave here, and I imagine all the rest of us, when we leave here, we don't go on the moon. So we're exposed to the same water as everybody else. Do I want us to go back to Detroit? Yeah, I wanted us to go back to Detroit yesterday. What did you do, Councilman Davis, in trying to remedy that problem? Remember, I wrote a letter to the United States Attorney General's office, to the Department of Justice. I sent the letter every month. I brought it to the council. I gave everybody copies. I also wrote a letter to the United Nations asking that we be investigated under these cruel and unusual conditions that we suffer under. Remember, I wrote a letter to the United States Attorney General. I never got a response back. I sent a letter for 90 days, every Monday, for 90 days, asking for the same thing everybody else is asking for. But I gotta be honest with you, I'm livid, I'm frustrated just like everybody else. But council do not have the power to change or amend what the emergency manager put in place. Now when April come, now that's a different argument because his orders is gone. It's gone. But until April, we can all sit here right now and say go back to Detroit, which I want us to go back yesterday. But can we do that based on us putting the motion to the floor? No. Yeah, no, we cannot do it. Do it anyway. But it's fictitious. It's fictitious.
Sir, please.
It's fictitious. And
Sir,
it's playing on
please.
the emotions of the residents. See, there's a word in place that I really want you to be aware of, and it's called deceptive intelligence. I don't want to deceptively, intellectually deceive you. I don't want to do that. I can sit up here and make a lot of noise, and I can fuss and yell all day, and I can throw my hands up, and I can say, arrest me and everything else. That will not change the fact that there's nothing that we can do in moving us back to Detroit. It's nothing. But what we can do, what is that, Universal, the people here from Virginia Tech. Now, let's talk about what we can do. Virginia Tech comes in, they do a study. They find out it's lead in the water. Cool. You find out it's lead in the water. Now they are considered expert testimony. Now we're moving somewhere. Now we can take it to a federal court in the Eastern District and file a lawsuit and ask for a 42 U.S.C. 1983 complaint to ask for a preliminary injunction. Why? Because what? We have an expert witness, and that expert will give an expert testimony. That's moving into the federal courts. The federal courts is the only people that can surpass or overcome what this emergency manager has put in place. Now, this is knowledge. Maybe we take it or leave it alone. I'm okay with that. But I'm just telling you, the same process that we just went about, that Attorney Val Washington has used to get the water rates lowered, and now he's in the process of filing the same thing I was telling us from the beginning, a 42 USC 1983 damage complaint. It's the same thing we can do with the quality of water. We couldn't do it at first, and it was dismissed. Why? When we filed the 42 USC 1983. Why? Because there was no merits. There was no grounds. Why wasn't there no grounds? There was no expert testimony. There was no expert witness. You have to have an expert witness to file a 42 USC 1983. Why? Because you got to survive what? Summary disposition. If you don't survive summary disposition, which is that? Proving a genuine issue of material fact, the defendants would submit a motion to dismiss yours on the lack of merit.
Councilman? Councilman?
Well, Virginia Tech come in with their statement.
Councilman,
We can file a 42
your
USC
time-
1983.
Your time is expired. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you one last time to stop. If you don't, then I'm going to have you arrested. That's it. Okay.
Let me conclude, please. I'm going to conclude in 1 minute.
Your time
1
is
minute.
up.
I'm gonna
Quickly.
Okay. So please, everyone, please. You have to dissect what I just said. Virginia Tech.
Officers, can you please have her taken out of the meeting? Please.
Virginia Tech has their report. Soon as their report is done, we would be able to file a 42 USC 1983 complaint.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it, man.
Don't sit and... Can you please have a seat, Mr. Palladino?
Let these people speak. We're dying here, God dang it. Don't take her, Josh. I'm telling you, this is the same thing in the goal. Don't do it. I don't need to yell, man. I'm trying to be respectful, Josh.
Mr. Palladino, Mr. Palladino, can you please sit down?
Mr. Palladino, Jr., sir.
Junior, sir, can you please sit down?
Don't do this.
Please. Can you continue?
Yes,
Councilman
thank you.
Davis?
Thank you. I'm going to sum it up, but I gave you some knowledge. I'm going to give you some knowledge that you can have. That's what you have to do. When Virginia Tech comes in with their report, you grab their report and you ask them will they use that report for expert testimony and file a 42 USC 1983. The same formality that Attorney Val Washington has done. And this is what you can do. But putting a motion to the floor and asking for this and asking for that, it's fictitious and it only plays on your desire for change. I don't want to do that. I want to be open and transparent with you. Thank you very much.
Councilman Winfrey? Councilwoman Galloway? Councilwoman Van Buren? Councilman Kincaid?
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, to hear a colleague say that some of us that are here haven't done anything just it doesn't really surprise me. I'm going to tell you, the reason your water bill is lowered, the reason your water bill is getting lowered is because I hired an attorney, paid for him, and sued the emergency manager for illegally raising your water rates. And we're working through that process. And we are working through that process with the administration to resolve these issues. So for my colleague to say he hasn't done, that I haven't done anything, let me say this. He didn't give $1 to pay for court costs or attorney fees to me, for my attorney. So I'm not looking for anything. I'm just telling you. Under the emergency manager law, council members had no authority. We had one course of action, and I took that course and was successful. And we'll continue to use that course, and we'll continue to be successful if we can't work with this administration, which we have been able to do. So,
point of information. Can you please tell them why Shear?
Councilman.
I just want to ask.
Just wait until he's done. Wait until he's
now,
done.
Mr. President, I want to thank Mr. Howard Croft and his staff for putting this information together for the public. You know, there's a lot of information going on in the community that's not factual, and this stuff that Mr. Croft and his staff have put together is based on data and based on fact. And I just want him and his staff to know that I appreciate you getting this information out to the community. Whether they accept it or not, you know, that's up to them. I know there's a problem with service lines in the city of Flint. I've recognized that for years. And I appreciate the administration, the mayor, for putting a letter of request for $30 million to request the governor, who also helped cause this problem by bringing in an emergency manager in November of 2010 or 2011, and to ask him, along with other elected officials, for $30 million, because that is just the tip of the amount of infrastructure that we need in our community. And Mr. President, I would move for us to support this letter to the governor requesting $30 million for infrastructure for the city of Flint.
So we have a motion on the floor that's been moved and supported. Is there discussion on that motion? Mr. Davis, you had something you wanted to say.
Yes, I just wanted you to give clarity to why there's 2 lawsuits, so people don't think that you don't have a part in the second one as well. Can you please just elaborate on that, why there's 2 lawsuits?
I'm not going
If
to
you don't want to do
elaborate
that,
a
if you
lot,
don't. Just
Mr.
on the part that
Davis,
I think.
But just for the public, when I filed the first lawsuit, it was denied in Judge Ewell's courtroom, and we appealed it. We went to the appeals court. Mr. Sears, who's a constituent of mine and a friend, I asked him to be a plaintiff in the second lawsuit, which dealt with Judge Hayman's ruling. But Judge Hayman, these cases have been before Judge Hayman for some time, and he refused to hear these cases until the Court of Appeals ruled. And once the Court of Appeals ruled in my favor, or I should say in our favor, that's when Mr. Washington went to circuit court and asked Judge Hayman to hear the second case, and that's when the ruling come. These 2 cases are what I would call dovetailed together, and you know, there's a lot of people in the administration that don't like that, but the fact of the matter is we were done wrong by the emergency manager. I couldn't fix it any other way. I had no alternative but to file a lawsuit, and that's what I did. And I'm through, Mr. President, and I wish we would take action on my motion.
Is there
Thank
any
you.
other discussion on the motion? No. The motion is to support the letter that the administration is sending to the governor's office requesting $30 million to deal with these infrastructure projects. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Mays, is he not here?
He's absent.
Okay. Ms. Poplar?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Ms. Van Buren?
Yes.
Mr. Kincaid?
Yes.
The vote is 8 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Mr. President.
The motion carries. Next item on our agenda is a public hearing. If there's no objection to that, we can postpone that for a minute until the public speaker's comment slips are read. And I believe we have one more that'll be coming from the back, but we can go ahead and get started now. And if there are specific questions about the information here tonight, then we will make sure that we write those questions down so that they can be included in the responses that will be posted to the website. Who is our first?
Our first speaker is Mr. R.L. Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell.
I'm R.L. Mitchell. I want to speak on that. The order 436, because I was a victim of order 436 on Sunday morning. I was a guest at the apartment house. They had 10 tenants in there, and the commode broke, and they had to call the landlord for emergency. And when I come back from service, the landlord left messages because he seen my hat over there. He said, tell that fella to don't lean on the toilet, but they put it all on me, and I'm disturbed about this 346 emergency stuff. That's what it sounded like, because the water was leaking downstairs on the other tenant. It sounded like they put it all on me, like we the people. and I'm representing everybody in Flint because nobody else wants to speak up on this 436 with that lawsuit on the commercial. This Miss Henderson and all that junk in the bow tie wearing fellow over here in this ward. And it's happened to be, and everybody threatened somebody, said, you use the bathroom again, like I'm the one that broke the junk and toilet stool and stuff, and with them 10 tenants in there. They don't say nothing about that legal smoking marijuana and stuff and all that junk and everybody. Why do you got to put it on me, Mr. President? And you stupid, you wick. I just stopped talking because I do.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Mitchell. Our next speaker.
Our next speaker is Mrs. Florlisa Stebbins. Mrs. Stebbins.
Hello, my name is Florlisa Stebbins. I stay at 341 Raby Lane. I'm in Ward 1. I'm here today to talk on this water presentation we just seen. I do feel that it was really nice that it was put together, but like we said before, this is a lot of things we already know. There was a few new items added. I do think that we should support having a city-wide meeting again, kind of like we did with the Dome. I think it's needed. I've talked with many residents. I have a Facebook page with over 3,000 residents on it. They're very concerned. Some can't make it because they're disabled. I do think, if possible, it should be filmed for Channel 17, kind of like our meetings here. I would like to suggest that to the council and see if they could put something like that together.
Can you make that clear again? I couldn't understand.
Couldn't understand me, sorry. I think we should have a meeting kind of like we did at the Dome back in, I believe it was January. And that we should also have it televised like Channel 17 does, so that people that are disabled, that are not able to show. And also, I would like to call for interpreters. I also speak for the deaf community. My daughter's deaf. I have family members that are deaf. And I have not seen interpreters in here at all.
Right.
And I want to make an official request for that, please.
Right. Right. Makes sense.
Thank you.
Makes a lot of sense.
All right, thank you. I've got your 2 requests down. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker.
Our next speaker is Mrs. Donna Popla. Ms. Popla.
Good evening. For the record, I would like to establish my name is Donna Poplar. I am very perplexed standing here this evening, and I've watched City Council in action for years. But I've never seen what I've witnessed on last week at your committee meeting with the behavior of your colleague, Councilman Eric Mays. There was a company here, Universal Ambulance Services, EMS, and what they wanted to do was simply rent some space at 3 of the fire stations. But I watched what looked to be like a criminal interrogation of the owner. That was wrong. I believe that this city council, according to the charter, you represent this city. You are pretty much like the watch guards over the operations of this city. For anyone who wants to do business in the city of Flint, especially at a time such as this, should not have to be subjected to such disrespect. That was the most disruptive meeting I've ever seen. So I question whether or not, if you have a conduct or a rule of conduct, and who have the responsibility to make sure that conduct is being adhered to. The citizens of this city should not have to be subjected to any elected officer or member of this administration where nothing is being displayed but disrespect. There was blatant disrespect for the chairman of those committee meetings on that particular day. That was wrong. I do believe that you need to have someone who clearly understands the Robert Rules of Order, and not that of Eric Mays, but someone who have been trained to actually make the decisions and call for judgment as it relates to the Robert Rules of Order. I believe that this body should invest in a parliamentarian, especially when there may be times where the city attorney may not be available. Because the problem that I have, and I noticed this very quickly, many of you don't know the city charter. But the city charter is the roadmap to what governs this city. And anytime you are an elected official, you should master that governs. It's just like those of us who are evangelists. We have to master the Bible because that is the roadmap to eternal life. I want to leave that alone and ask for some additional time, if I may.
Did you sign up for the second speaking?
I sure did.
Okay. Can you save it to then, or?
I would like to do it now if possible.
Okay.
Okay.
If you could just sum
very
up.
briefly, I am appalled that anyone that's sitting in this audience, anyone that makes up this body, and anyone throughout the city of Flint would think that the mayor and the city administrator, the administrators, or any member of this body would deliberately want to see the lives of innocent people put at risk as it relates to the water problem. I think Virginia Tech and anyone else should come together in a spirit of unity to work together in a partnership to resolve the problems. No one denies the fact that we have a problem in the city of Flint. That is obvious. But the way by which I'm seeing the problem being resolved, that's not how you get to a solution. There is no victory in ignorance. And so I think that this body should be a part of the administration, Virginia Tech, Department of Environmental Equality should come together in a spirit of oneness. I heard the prayer, Monica, and it was an awesome prayer, talking about the spirit of unity. And that's what we are missing here. I know it's an election year, but I don't believe that Karen Weaver have ever been around as it related to the water issues prior to now. And the problem with the water did not start just now. And so she has been a Karen Weaver lost and missing in action for a long time. And we should not make this a political endeavor, especially when you look at the quality of life and people's lives can be put at risk. And I do hope, Mr. President, that we do something to control the behaviors of what we have coming forth off this city council, because it's not right.
Order,
I want to say thank you.
It's been over 3 minutes, man.
Councilman Mays, I think that of anybody that's sitting at this table up here or sitting in the audience, you should be the last person that comes up and talks about going over any type of a time limit.
Council people ain't got no time frame. There's nothing in the charter or the rules that give council people a time frame.
You are correct.
It ain't no rule on the council. I know I'm correct. So let's move on. That was over 3 minutes. The rules ain't on me. You make them up as you go.
That she did go over the time, as has every other speaker.
Never been a time limit on a councilman in 30 years, sir.
Thank you, Councilman.
I know.
Our next public speaker.
I was elected.
Our next speaker is Arthur Woodson. Mr. Woodson.
All right, to Mr. Kincaid, every time I speak with facts. I always remember that, and I'm not giving the public anything that I haven't gotten from someone that knows about it. Mr. Croft, no, I've been fighting this even before the water thing even started. Ms. Poplar, Karen Weaver has me on her team, so I've been fighting this for a long time. Mr. Mayor, wherever he's at, I want to know, when was it? I know MDQ got a notice back in April for the assistance from the lead experts from the EPA. They were not accepted. July the 1st, EPA sent Dane Walling an email asking them, can they come in for a lead expert? Mr. Walling did not accept it. August the 31st, I received this from Heather Chauvin, which is the EPA enforcement team leader, and if anybody need a copy of it with her phone number, I'll give it to you. It says the following: Dear Mr. Woodson, thank you for your call on Friday. In follow-up to your inquiry on U.S. EPA lead experts, I had a conversation with Dr. Darren Little, who is the acting chief of the Treatment Technology Evaluation Branch in the Water Supply and Water Resources Division within EPA's Office of Research and Development. Scientists within Dr. Little's branch have expertise in drinking water treatment, including corrosion control, to address the lead contamination. We passed along Dr. Little's information to both MDEQ and Flint mayors Dane Walling for consideration to work with Flint's Technical Advisory Committee. You mentioned that you wanted to provide the Flint City Council with this information since Mayor Walling has not shared EPA's assistance offer with the council. I have left a voicemail with Councilwoman Monica Galloway regarding your inquiry, since it is critical that the council work with the city and the state to discuss next steps for the Flint water system. Now, what's going on here is Detroit used to use corrosive treatment in their water, which formed a biofilm on the pipes. By switching over, Flint found a loophole to where all they have to do is test the water 2 times out of a year without using any treatment. Right now, the EPA is investigating because they have to send me they had to go to general counsel in order to answer my question, because the Flint was supposed to still be using corrosive treatment in their water. So what happened, they didn't use it. The lead is coming from where the chlorine is eating up the pipes, and Mr. Croft can even tell you that. So, Mr. Kincaid, just because you paid and did all this, you've been in the council since 1986. You are the issue here. You are not the hero of this movie. Ms. Popular, it's time for me to recall you. I am coming after your seat, and that is a promise. Davis, stop being scared and at least vote and send it to our tab. Scary dude.
Hey, Mr. President, can he leave a copy of that documentation with the secretary? Mr. Woodson, can we get a copy for all council members to get?
For that time?
If you give it to the secretary.
Encouragement. Our next public speaker?
Our next speaker is Mr. Chris Del Morone. Mr. Del Morone.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Chris Del Morone, and I live in Flint, Michigan. Council President, please correct me or guide me on this. My understanding is that we can ask questions about the presentation, and you guys will take note and get us an answer.
That's correct.
All right. Now start with, my concern is that I've seen over and over again that there's been a lack of planning on the part of the administration. One of them would be in this, we went to the Flint River water, and, the question wasn't asked on, the TTHM and the additional, I think it was chlorine that was added. This, by adding this anti-corrosion to the water, what problems may that now cause us? Because we've seen things done. The TTHM was a result of something we had added to the water. Now we're doing this. So the question is, using the anti-corrosion, what problems may we now experience? Free testing, what's that process to when they come into our homes? Do they have to come in, or how does that work? Instead of paying cash to work on our infrastructure, I believe we need to borrow the money. So as you borrow the money, kind of like when you buy a home, a new home, not too many people go out and pay cash for a house. They borrow the money, you stretch out the payments, you don't have to come up with so much money at once. Don't pay cash, borrow the money. The question with Lockwood, Andrews, and Newman, we were told that they've been on board since the mid-2000s. And my question is, when did they begin to study, as it was said, the transition to Flint River water? Okay, I think we might find out that transition was actually in the planning. The plan to change to the Flint River water was done way in advance of discontinuation with Detroit, or Detroit dropping us. We heard about standards and lead standards and different standards that the EPA and DEQ put out. My question is, can we change? Well, we can't change the rules, or it would take a long process to petition for that to happen. but can we have higher standards than what the EPA and DEQ put out? The amount of money spent due to item number 1 there, the granulated activated charcoal carbon thing filter, my understanding is that that would not have to have been installed if we had never gone to using Flint River water. So the question becomes, what other projects did we have to implement at our water plant or anywhere, pipelines in the plant, outside the plant, to go to the Detroit or to go to the Flint River water? Because I believe we're going to find out that making those changes, we would not have to have made those changes if we stayed with Detroit, and we may in fact have been able to afford going back to Detroit.
Thank you.
Okay, and just one
more question.
Thank you. Yeah. I think it would help the public that they would get an understanding of exactly what is to be lowered in the water bill. Some people think that water service and sewer service charge will be eliminated or lowered. My understanding from the court decision is that that won't happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got your 7 questions down, and I'll make sure that they're forwarded to Mr. Croft and Ms. Henderson to be included on the website. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Our next speaker?
Our last speaker in this segment is Mrs. Peggy Brisbane Noblet.
She's the one that was arrested.
There she is.
She's still here.
She wasn't arrested. Technically she was, but really she wasn't. So whoever said that, she's here.
Good evening.
Hello. You need my name?
Nope, we've got it.
All right. First, we'd like to personally invite all city council reps to attend the town hall meeting tomorrow, September 15th. It's at the Saints of God's Church, 2200 Forest Avenue at 6 to 8, to go over the Virginia Tech results since it's tomorrow. It does not interfere with their meeting on Wednesday. According to what I'm reading, Scott and Leanne, you definitely should be there. I'm just passing, I'm just the messenger. I want to know, seems as how I was interrupted, Mr. Davis, what is going to be the final process that should be implemented in order to get things taken care of that you were talking about?
As soon as she's done with her questions.
I am done. I'm waiting for the answer.
Are you done with your time, ma'am?
No,
Okay,
no, but...
we'll respond to you when you're done with
Okay,
your time.
also, it states that, what about the water pipes? I mean, Mr. Wallace said that he's going to get $30 million. Well, according to what we just got, that's what he told us it was going to take to replace the pipes. So is that what you're going to use the money for? That's pretty much it, because that's my solution to the problem. Replace the pipes that are in front of my home. My home was built in 1896. I have one of the homes in Carriagetown. And yes, I know that the original pipes are there. So when are you going to replace those? I'm done.
You can have a seat then.
Pardon?
You can have a seat and we'll respond.
Right now, I'm waiting for the response.
Right.
I still have, Josh, I still have my 5 minutes up here.
Actually, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, then answer my question.
You used 2.5, and as soon as you're done and have a seat, we'll be more than happy to respond to you.
You heard him.
Mr. President.
Councilman Davis.
Your response was, what is the process of filing a 42 U.S.C. 1983 complaint form? First, you have to get a civil attorney. And I think that there already is an attorney that's in the midst of fighting this issue already as we speak. One attorney, and it might be the same person, filed the 42 USC 1983, and it was dismissed. But this time, through the Virginia Tech report, they probably will be able to accept that motion, or that 42, that damage complaint. But it will have to go through a civil attorney. And then I'm going to summarize it and end it real quick, 1 minute. When you file a 42 USC 1983, there's a process that comes in effect that calls summary disposition. In a summary disposition, you have to prove a genuine issue of material fact. If I say you and I was arguing and you scratched me, or I got scratched, the genuine issue is you and I was arguing. So let me answer your question and I end it. A civil attorney. A civil attorney, that's what you need. Yeah.
All right.
Mr. President.
Councilman Mays.
Mr. President, through you to the city attorney. Mr. City Attorney, do we operate under Robert's Rules of Order? And do we operate under city council rules? And in either one of them or both, is there a procedure to appeal the decision of the chair if he make an order that you disagree with, as far as you know?
Well, we operate under council rules, but where the rules do not address a particular situation, then we would look to Robert's rules for parliamentary procedure.
Mr. President, through you to the person who worked most with me on the Rules Committee, Mr. Winfrey. Under council rules, we do have an appeal from the ruling of the chair. Is that correct?
We have an appeal from the decision of the chair.
Of the chair.
Yes.
And so, Mr. Bade, when you couple to the audience with Mr. Bade and Mr. Mr. Winfrey has said, as the chairman of the Rules Committee, I know for 100% fact that you can appeal the ruling. Now, Mr. Freeman, I would like to respond to, he said you couldn't appeal him, and the rest of the council sit there. I know the rules, and then the chaos pursued. We must be a council body. A person can chair a meeting, but if that person don't follow the rules, him or himself, it can cause chaos. Now, Mr. Freeman, in the past, we have wanted to address the speakers, but you allowed Mr. Davis to address her question and whatever. I particularly appreciate you allowing me to respond to any and all speakers, particularly Ms. Poplar. I don't mind hearing my name said, but when it comes to council rules in this charter, for 30 years, I understand them. And I know 100% that just as I say Mr. Freeman is out dealing for the mayor and trying to promote him, you are too. And so when the public understand who's who and what's what and how we treat people differently, Ms. Galloway, remember you the one that had me arrested that said you wasn't political, and next thing I know you was doing a write-in. So don't interrupt me. What's her
Councilman,
point?
I think a point of order is in.
Okay, well, what's her point?
Is that right? Point of?
What's her point?
Point of order.
What's your point?
I want to know where this is going and how does it relate to the fact that we're in the public comment of anything that is on the agenda. I do not understand, although I appreciate Councilman Davis being given the opportunity to respond, that is not normally the way that our meetings proceed. And in my opinion, it seems like it is beginning to take our meeting off of the agenda that is laid before us. And in my opinion, that does not lead to a progressive meeting. I think that all of these discussions or answers from the council is legitimate, but I ask that it would be done orderly at the end of the meeting as we normally do it, so that we can proceed with the business at hand, which is to handle the agenda.
What's her point of order, Mr. President? She's
where are
giving
you
a
going?
dissertation.
Where are
That
you
ain't
going?
a point of order.
Where
That's
are
a
you going?
I'm going to end it by this, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
No,
Where
no,
I was going.
Just a second, Councilman. I mean, we can continue on like this all night long, and we can argue from Councilman Mays or argue from Councilman Freeman, or the public can sit out there and scream and yell at us, but at the end of the day, what have we accomplished?
Let me say this, and we can.
Until I'm not done yet. At the end of the day, what have we accomplished? Right. Absolutely nothing.
If I may,
Councilman,
we can move on.
Councilman, I'm going to give you the floor, If you want to talk, I got to be to work tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. If you want to talk until 8 o'clock in the morning, I'll sit here and
Won't
listen
do
to
that.
you. But let's try to be productive in what we're talking
That's
about.
exactly.
If you let me finish, man, I probably would have been done 30 seconds ago. If you want to sit and talk to, bash me about I'm supporting the mayor and all I'm doing is politicking, we can do that. If the audience, like I said earlier, if you want to scream and yell at me, you can scream and yell at me, and if it makes you feel better, God bless you, but it's not going to fix the water issue. So let's carry on with the meeting, Councilman. You've got the floor, and like I said, I'll be here until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
So, Mr. President, it's not that I want the floor. It's that when you say you could finish in 30 seconds, and when I talk, you don't know if I will or not, you interrupt, you rule out order. Miss Galloway, she might mean well saying point of order and giving a dissertation, but she's exactly right. When you change the rules in the middle of the stream, Ms. Galloway, let me say to you, there's nothing in the council rules that say we can't answer people when they come up here. We don't have to sit and listen to them like dummies. They're the public. When they come up here and they communicate and want answers, there's nothing in the rules except for what Mr. Freeman has taught you. Trust me.
Point of order on that,
that's
too.
not a point. Let me finish, and then you can talk to the cows come home. So what I'm telling you, these rules have been created. I've been in council meetings for 30 years. Bertie L. Duncan, Melvin McCree, Chester Simmons, Woody Etherly. You just seeing some bad chairing. And when they change the rules and say Mays can't speak, but we want to hear from Davis, and when they let you give a dissertation rather than a true point of order, one thing Ms. Popular said is you might need a true parliamentarian. See, I used to be the parliamentarian for the UAW, but when people think that I'm ignorant and don't know and the chairman chairs bad meetings, it causes confusion. So Josh, I won't talk until time for you to go to work, but I do want to do what I said I wanted to do 2 months ago in the last meeting. Put a motion on the floor, be productive, to hold a special council meeting on the water quality and price. If this motion dies for a lack of second, and this council don't bring the administration and the mayor in here on a meeting for quality and price, then it's going to prove in my mind that this council has no means of operating open and transparent, because the horse and pony show that I seen was not the idea of a special meeting on price and quality. This council has a duty and a responsibility to hold meetings, ask the right questions, and not come in here and let them say what they want to say in our meeting and then leave out telling you and the public to ask questions in writing. That's a game. So I move for a special council meeting on the price of quality and water as soon as possible, because I've been trying to get this meeting for 2 months. So Josh, that's how you be productive. And then you let the meeting and the question and answers flow. So I make that motion. That's why you operate.
Is there support for the motion?
If it die for a lack of second, then I want the public to see that.
Is there support? Motion fails for lack of support.
And that's the problem we got in the city of Flint.
Are you done, Councilman?
Wow, I thought you was gonna do it, Davis. Hey, hold on. Let me say something. Sure. I support that motion, but let me say something.
There's no motion on the floor, Councilman.
But I'll bring it back up. But let me say something. There's nothing we can do unless we go to the federal courts. We can have a meeting all day, every day. This is what you call deceptive intelligence. This is deceptive intelligence. It's nothing we can do. It's nothing city council can do, because the emergency manager put an order in place that we cannot change. No, I'm saying this in my humble state.
Sir, can you let the councilman speak?
Can I finish speaking?
And if you can't, then we'll have to ask you
If
to be removed as well.
let me say this. We're designed a committee, and we're designed to bring the mayor and the city administrator and all of them to the floor and they'll give their explanation of what's going on with the water, and then we'll rebut it, and we'll say, well, we need to go back to the Flint River. City Council made a motion to the table that we go back to the Flint River. Emergency manager said it was incomprehensible. He put an order in, the last order by the state. It's no appeal, it's nothing we can do but continue to do by going to the Eastern District Federal Court. Now, we can use all of our time sitting here arguing all day, but why not do the right thing? We want to do the wrong thing expecting the right results. It won't happen that way. I'm trying my hardest not to intellectually deceive you by playing on your emotions, because your emotions right now is allowing you to say we need to get clean, fresh water. We do, but let's take it to the federal court. Having a meeting all day, wasting everybody's time is not going to get it, because we cannot change the state law. The state law says that the emergency manager under Public Act 436 has absolute control over city government. It's nothing we can do. So why not prepare ourselves together and take it to the federal court and file a 42 U.S.C. 1983? What is wrong with doing that? That is more sufficient, it's more accurate than just sitting up having a meeting all day. Let's be solution driven. Solution driven is taking it to the federal court. When the Virginia Tech comes in, makes their statement, let's grab that report and connect it to a 42 U.S.C. 1983, asking for a preliminary injunction, which is a stop hold on us using the Flint River, and then we have to go back to Detroit. But just to sit up and have a meeting, it has no substance to it. Let's bring substance to our complaint. Let's make our emotions validated, and let's make meaning to our problem. And meaning to our problem is doing the right thing, taking it to the federal court. That's what we have to do. I don't want to intellectually deceive you. And no, I'm not going to support it.
Mr. President.
Sure, Councilman Mays.
Real quick.
Yeah, take your
The
time.
state court has already issued a preliminary injunction in Judge Hayman's court on price. Is people wanting to know if we gonna get refunds, credits, or what?
And Van Washington is doing that.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, you out of order, sir. And so when I say a special meeting...
Councilman, we're going to take about a 5-minute recess.
Hey, wait a minute.
But I said it was a notice.
Isn't that the court case? The Trishelle Young one. Trishelle Young was representing the Clean Water Coalition.
But wasn't that part of that was he was right. He was saying we want the city to go back to the Flint water system. Right, but that's what part about this community is saying that. This little charade that carries on, like everybody is except him.
Go hire an attorney. Go pay $10,000 for a
Well, my girlfriend just texted me. She's right, but she texted me saying she's not coming down. If she does come down, it'll be after Bible study. She found out that Bible study, and she's a minister on staff. Yeah, I'm just saying, it ain't that easy.
You're going up to Traverse City.
Your name was on that. Yeah, the DMV.
And they're like, no, I never. I said, I never. They said, yeah. I said, 8 rooms. They said, yeah, 8 rooms. It's so crazy.
Must be a new person.
No, this is.
Talk to me, the pig.
If we can get members to take their seats, we will resume the meeting.
Only if I was making the class hot.
No, I gotta come back Friday. I'm gonna leave from, I'm gonna have lunch with a friend of mine on Friday, I believe, and then I'm coming home.
I just heard that Eric's gonna be back by 2. No, look, I'm gonna be, I don't really drive anywhere.
We will resume the meeting.
Now, the chief must be cold. He's got a coat on. We're still sitting here like this. Oh, look at Eric. He's got a jacket in his hand.
She'd be work.
I didn't expect it to
I
be
know.
like this today.
But her sister told me.
I thought they would have cut off the air.
It's just like so cold. My fingers are numb. Jackie got one over there. What happened? I should have just went over there and warmed up my fingers. Oh, yeah. She said, look, your brother's son. He got a cold in here.
All right, we're going to call this meeting back to order. And I am going to let everyone know from this point forward that basically if there's any further disruptions in this meeting, I'm going to rule you out of order, and in doing so, we'll let you know that you'll be in violation of Flint City Code Section 3112, disorderly conduct and disorderly persons, and you will be subject to arrest for a misdemeanor. I will not be providing any further notices, and if I rule you out of order, I'm going to ask the police to come up and remove you from the meeting. I think that despite what folks may think, that we are a city that is capable of governing itself, that we can and should be able to run an orderly meeting without a bunch of mess and fussing, and that that is going to be my objective moving forward. So I'm not going to warn anybody anymore. If you're screaming at me from the audience, if you are being disorderly here on the council, I'm going to ask the police to remove you from the meeting.
Mr. President.
Okay. Councilman Mays, very quickly, so that we
Yeah,
can get on
and
with
quickly,
the agenda.
can you correct the record that when you do rule out of
Yes.
order, our rules
I will-
do allow for us
I
to
will
appeal your
absolutely
ruling?
correct that record, that our rules are different than what Robert's rules indicate. There is an exception, and that is questions of order are appealable. And what I was going based on was Robert's rules, and our rules are different than that. So you are correct. I was wrong on that account. So I'm man enough to admit it when I'm wrong. Next item on our agenda then is public hearings. We do have several speakers, 20-something speakers. You will have an opportunity to speak at the public speaking portion of our agenda, which comes a little bit later on down the line. Next item on our agenda is a public hearing, 150794. That is an amendment to Chapter 50, which deals with a piece of property over on James P. Cole. I believe it's at the old DuPont factory site. And I don't know how to say the name of it. Barges LLC. I believe they're going to be doing some online auction type activity from that site, and they need it to be zoned differently than what it is now. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on that zoning change. You need to come to the podium, state your name, and you do have, I believe, up to 10 minutes to either support or object to that zoning change. You don't have to take the entire 10 minutes if you don't want to, but you're more than welcome to if you do. Is there anybody here for this public hearing? Is there anybody here for this public hearing? Anybody here for this public hearing? This public hearing is closed. We have communications we need to place on file. Is there a motion to do that?
Mr. President,
Councilman Mays?
I would move that the communications be placed on file.
It's been moved and
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Can we have roll call, please?
Ms. Poplar?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson? Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey? Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Ms. Van Buren?
Yes.
Mr. Kincaid?
Yes.
Mr. Mays?
Yes.
The vote is 8 yes, 0 no.
The motion carries. We do have 1, 2, 3, 4 resolutions on tonight's agenda. Do you want to take them as a master resolution, or do you want to take them individually?
Individually is my
First
preference.
item on our agenda is 150798. It's a rental agreement with Universal EMS Ambulatory Service. Is there a motion?
Mr. President,
Is there a motion?
yes. I would move to postpone that for 30 days.
There is a motion to postpone. Is there support? Motion fails for lack of support. Is there a motion to
Mr. President, I'd
approve?
move 150798 for approval.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Mays?
Yeah, in the meeting last week, I asked that Mr. Kovac from the union come to the committee of the whole meeting. Mr. Kovac, the president of the firefighters union, did come to the committee of the whole meeting. He said he had been hearing about it, but he had not seen the proposal. This is a proposal for the city of Flint to rent out space in 3 fire stations for ambulance service. And the administration told us in committee meeting last week that it would not be implemented toward the end of the year. And so this is not a time-sensitive issue from everything I can gather. I've not heard nobody say that. I appeal to Mr. Kincaid, who works for UAW Region 1C, because of what the union said that they had not been abreast. This means ambulance services will come inside of 3 fire stations, the one on right here by the police station, the one on Martin Luther King, and the one on Pearson Road, which is in Ward 1. And they want to pay between $90,000 or $100,000 to rent space. When I inquired in the committee meeting as to whether or not about the quality, who the ambulance services was, my colleagues seemed to get offended and told me, you don't have to ask about the quality of the ambulance service in so many words, like I was drilling the person wrongfully, because I was saying I wanted to know who was going to locate in there. So now that this has been moved to pass, I might not can support it because I want to always do my due diligence. If we gonna rent space and ambulances will be dispersed from the city of Flint, I do wanna know as much about them as I can and the quality of service. Also, I'm appalled that since it's not time sensitive, that my colleagues is moving, they wouldn't postpone it, and it don't matter if one person wanna know, and that's me. It doesn't matter if the fire union and the employees want input. When I tried to move around to see where they would locate at, nobody in the fire department could talk to me because they said it was a gag order and they ain't allowed to talk to people. When I talked about inquiring in the committee meeting through the city administrator, and she said I was micromanaging her decisions. And I said to the city administrator, my job is to inquire and it's not micromanaging, but anytime I want to vote on something, I want to know what I want to know before I can vote it up and down. And I also said that it seems like to me that this is being done on the fast track politically by you, Mr. Freeman, and others who support Walling along with Mr. Buchanan, because Mr. Buchanan has been moving around in a certain capacity with this entity to announce that we got ambulance service back in the city prior to the November election. And so when I see things put on the fast track, and I see political operatives such as Mr. Buchanan in the middle of it with companies, and the president and the council blocking in order to make an announcement that they said to me won't be implemented until a later date in the year, I see no time-sensitive reason for me to pass this before I have input from the employees in the union who will commingle in those fire departments together. So Mr. Kincaid, from one UAW member to another, based on what we heard Mr. Kovac tell us, and you're the maker of this motion to approve, I'm appalled because this smells of speedy politics versus due diligence as it relates to ambulance service being announced back in the city of Flint. I would say to the owner and to his wife, I might very well support it, but I have to do what I have to do in order to get questions to vote yes. When people fast track and don't answer Councilman May's questions as it relates to quality, and you were doing that, and I applaud you, but you had colleagues rudely interrupted me when we asked questions in the committee meeting. I also wanted to know more about the request for proposals and who it went out to. I wanted to know about the bids, whether they were sealed, the request for proposals. I wanted time to talk to the people who allegedly had been sent them, because we had conversations that they had sent letters out first. Then we had information that 2 people responded and then 1 answered the request. So I wanted to know about the publication for the request for proposal. I wanted to know all of that process, and those questions hasn't been answered properly for this councilman. Councilman Winfrey, you were absent, but what I experienced in that committee room was appalling. I did hear the company say they might create 35 to 45 jobs. I do know that some of our firefighters has been trained. I do have more questions about the job, and I don't believe that it's micromanaging when you want to ask questions about all of those aspects as it relates to something that you have to vote on. So I was appalled that my colleagues, it was almost as bad as what the public experienced here today. This nonsense about how you chair meetings and how you answer questions must stop.
Can we bring it back to the motion, please?
Oh, it is at the motion. The discussion is on the motion because particularly Mr. Winfrey wasn't here. I was here, the public wasn't here, and my record, Mr. Kincaid, as you smile, my union brother, my record is going to be why I vote no And all of those reasons is the reason that I can't support it, Mr. Kincaid. And I said that if y'all been meeting with Darrell and these people behind the scenes, then bring them in front of the scenes, give me the information. But I'll make this prediction to the public. This deal is cut, labeled, boxed, and done.
All right, Councilwoman Poplar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to let the public know the reason why I am supporting this ambulance service. Unlike Mr. Mays, when I did have that part of the city, it was the 2nd Ward, and I spoke with the gentleman that owns the ambulance service and a couple of his colleagues over a year ago before the boundary changes. And not only did we talk about the ambulance service, we talked about his long-range plans for the city of Flint, which included a rehabilitation center, a park that would be built around the rehabilitation center, and other long-range things that he wanted to do in the city of Flint. Now, I checked myself with DeVita. This ambulance company has been doing business with DeVita, which happens to be dialysis. You have got to have someone that is on time all the time if you're going to deal with dialysis patients. And DeVita has nothing but high standards, high remarks, high regards for this ambulance service. We're always hollering about jobs, economic development, African-American businesses. We never get them on the north side of Flint. We never bring jobs to our people on the north side of Flint. We never do anything. This is our opportunity for someone that has a passion for this city. Union men, every man in my family, from my husband to my brother-in-law to my son to my uncles, they were all union men. And they stayed with the union until they retired. They didn't walk away from the union. So I have high regards for the union, but this is our opportunity for the north side of Flint to have a business, to hire young people that don't have a job, to train them, and to give the city of Flint roughly $100,000 a year, and we do need the money. So I'm voting for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Davis.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you also, Councilperson Poplar, because she basically said exactly what I was going to say. This city is in dire stress of taxes. And what this company would do, it would bring good taxes in, but also it would also give us $100,000 a year and hire 35 to 40 some people as well. This is something we're lacking. This is the reason, one of the reasons why we're in the position that we're in right now is because we don't have any of that. And third, it's a minority-owned company, owned by a minority. So I think that that is excellent. I really do. We don't have many minorities owning companies in our city, and we got one that really want to come into the city and bring some taxes here, bring some employees here. Why would I deny that? So that's my yes right there, and that's the reason why I'm going to say yes, is because I think that this is beneficial to the city, but most importantly, it's beneficial to the residents.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Nelson, and then I've got Councilwoman Van Buren and Councilwoman Galloway and Councilman Winfrey.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Henderson, can I ask one question? I'm going to support this. I just want to clear something up. If you can just come to, and I just want to ask this question.
Yes,
Is any way that this service that this company is going to offer to the residents of this city going to affect any union personnel?
No, no, sir, it will not.
It will not?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Van Buren.
Yes, thank you.
I wanted to give a little background on where we're at, how we got here. This was a suggestion offered to the fire department during consultants from ICMA that came in to review the police department and the fire department. And this was a suggestion of theirs that would be beneficial to the fire department and the city of Flint. They also offered ideas to the chief of police. He has also implemented some of those ideas. So it helps when you've got experts coming in telling you how to improve something that you have and you don't have enough staffing or funding to really do the job that needs to be done in Flint. But they did acknowledge that we have outstanding leadership in the fire and the police, but it would also help to have additional type of programs to carry us further in the work that we do. And the fire department, one of them was to have ambulance service available to the citizens in Flint on a faster response basis, someone that understood what's going on in the city and that could relate to it. This was not a secret. This was publicly discussed in committee meetings. Committee meetings are always open to the public. If the fire department representatives wanted to attend, they could. I even had talked to the president back during the time that their contract was being reviewed, suggesting come out to the meetings so that way you know what's going on. Sometimes if you don't take that option, then you'll be caught, you know, with not knowing really much of what's going on. So there has to be a two-way street of communicating and participating in what's going on. Now, to reach this stage, it didn't happen overnight. We have paperwork that have been given to us as to the outreach that was given out to different organizations to respond to a proposal. We also have a copy of the proposal that was eventually turned in, and it was the only proposal that was submitted. So it makes you wonder, how come the other ones didn't come in? Weren't they willing to make that commitment? Weren't they passionate about the work that they had? Here we have a minority-owned ambulance company since the year of 2006 that has shown they want to be involved. And this is not just one step of what they're doing for this community. They are looking at a number of other options. They care about helping these families. They're not always holding out their hand trying to grab the money out of your back pocket for their service. They've already stated to us they are willing to work with families, and sometimes they don't always get paid. Sometimes you can't. You don't know when that emergency is going to happen, when you have to be taken immediately to a hospital, or there's an accident, or you have a heart attack. You know, you think they're going to wait. Do you got insurance? Or do you got money before we put you in the ambulance? No, that's not what it's about. It's about getting you where your life can be saved, where you can get the medical help that you can get, and they will work with you. They have demonstrated that with a number of cases they have held. So why can't we, I say, support something like this, that they are giving and giving to the city? They're giving us money to have a space so it'd be easier to reach the areas that they need to take care of. That's all they want is the space. They're going to hire people. Aren't we about economic development? Isn't that the cry I hear from council, is we need to be focusing on economic development? Here it is, an opportunity for some jobs, an opportunity to get extra monies into the city instead of us giving monies out. You know, I think this should be an example to many other organizations, to many other businesses in the city of Flint. It's come up to the plate. You are here in Flint. You are benefiting from the citizens in this community. You're receiving income. Now, also give back. You know, help us to move forward. So I'm supporting this and wholeheartedly, and I think this will be an adventure that everyone will benefit from. Thank you.
Councilwoman Galloway.
Thank you. Ms. Henderson, before I make my comment, is it true that this is a one-year contract initially? It seems like that's what was said in the committee.
It will be 1 year and then with the option to renew,
To continue
depending on, you know, how things work out.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say, in thinking on the concerns that may or may not arise with the union, I think that when I heard the proposal, one of the things that I didn't see was I didn't see that there was a conflict of interest. Because when you look at what could be an issue with the union, you look at whether there could be a conflict of interest. I didn't see that, considering that the city is not in the ambulance business. But I also saw that there was the potential opportunity. Now, I don't know what type of contract that the firefighters have, but I know that some of them supposedly have been trained to do this, so there may be an opportunity for them to work on their off time if their contract allow. I'm not saying, but I'm saying there is the potential for someone that already has these skills to possibly, if it doesn't conflict with their union contract, to even possibly have an opportunity to do something else. So when I looked at that, I looked at the fact that it's a 1-year contract, which I'm hoping that on both sides we would have an opportunity to see if it's a good fit, and hopefully it is. What I do want to say to the owners of this business, what I do hope is that the interaction wasn't so trying. I thank you for persevering. I want to be known as a council person, as I'm sure that my colleagues do, and I appreciate everybody willing to do their due diligence. It is my desire that we as a community, a leadership, would become more friendly to those that do want to do business. For me, this was about taking advantage of extra space that we have already that is not being utilized, that we are not earning extra income on. And so it really seems like a really win-win for both entities as well as a community. I think that anybody that's been in an emergency situation, the possibility that an ambulance can get to your loved one in a situation that's faster, that could be the answer between life and death. I don't think there's anybody that's reasonable that wouldn't want to take a chance at seeing how this works out for the city. So for that reason, I will be supporting this agreement. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Councilman Winfrey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to bring this to the attention of my colleagues. Several months ago, in a committee meeting, Chief Cox shared information with us about the sloppy quality of work and services that some of the ambulance companies that work in the city, how we've experienced that over the years. Some of them won't answer calls, won't go to certain areas of the city, which, in my mind, puts a hole into quality. Well, I've heard some of my colleagues use this terminology, due diligence, and I like the word. I did my due diligence. I went to the source. I requested the meeting. And I think we spent at least about an hour or so, and the better part of that meeting, we were talking about quality service. We also talked about an incident that I think all of us, or some of us, may remember a few weeks ago, where there was a young man that had an accident, and he was laying in his car, and there was an ambulance service, not the same one we're speaking about tonight, that didn't see him in there. Sloppy, very sloppy. So I think that we should support Chief Cox, who says that an ambulance service would provide quality. And from the conversations that I had with the owners, we're not just talking about quality, but we're also talking about value added. And to me, I think the citizens of Flint deserve that. So it is for these reasons that I believe that we shouldn't have to go through all of this when we want to do something good for the folks in this city. And I'm going to say this and then I'm done. I'm hoping that, and I'm going to encourage those who are in the 6th Ward to not get caught up into all of this rhetoric about an election. The citizens of Flint deserve good service whether it's an election or not. And I'm going to tell you this. If anybody who's in office, just because it's an election, won't do something that they're supposed to do, they need to be kicked out. So I'm hoping that we won't get caught up with that foolishness. We get caught up, as my mother used to call it, gagging on a gnat and swallowing a camel. We need to be able to disagree respectfully, thank you, and get this business done. The work is hard, but getting along and respecting each other is not. So I'm going to be supporting this, and I'm encouraging my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Mr. President, real quick. Can you or anybody on the council tell me how many ambulances will be in each fire station?
I don't think that there's any requirement set forth.
No, I'm just asking, do you know?
I'm telling you, if you let me finish.
Okay.
I don't believe that the contract that is a lease for space has a requirement for any. So if there could be one, and frankly, there could be none, as long as they're paying their lease payment every month.
And this is a lease for space inside of each location. Do any of you or my colleagues know, or will ambulances be on the property outside? Do you know?
Is it inside or outside? Is it inside
Mr. President,
if you give me a second, I'll get that answer for you.
Well, that's what I do before I vote. I want to know the operations, and that's my point. I know y'all.
You asked me a question.
Okay.
If you wait a second,
I'm
I'll get
asking
that
you
answer.
publicly.
Inside? Yeah. Yes, they will be stored inside.
Beg your pardon?
Yes, they will be stored inside.
Okay, so each of those 3 locations that already have fire trucks will now have a certain number of ambulances inside. That's what I was trying to get to the bottom of. Now, that company probably already operates out of Flint. And if they operate out of Flint, in addition to where they are located now, they probably have been located. Just as you had Ms. Henderson come up, the owner is here. No. These are legitimate questions, but for some reason or another, when you want to know how many ambulances per station with fire trucks, when you want to know if they're going to locate in or outside, and we know there was information about people who wasn't paying being serviced. Is these ambulances exclusively serving Flint? All of these questions, because there's no time frame in here. And you would even block me asking him, when will they be up and running? And so my point is this, Mr. Winfrey, even though you knew who to go talk to a month or so ago, I didn't know who got the contract till I got in council meeting last week when you were not there. So believe me, sir, I'm in the 1st Ward. What you say about residents in the 6th Ward, my residents in the 1st Ward want me to do my due diligence. The firefighters who gonna be housed with them want me to do my due diligence. Me, in my own mind, want to do my due diligence. I want to know if it's 1 fire truck, 3 fire trucks, inside, outside. I want to know about the operations, because believe me, sir, once that one is dispatched, he could be dispatched to Burton. And we still wouldn't have one in Flint if it's one in there and they go somewhere else. We don't know the exclusivity. Will they be exclusively serving Flint just because they housed in our location? Ms. Galloway, and guess what I'm going to do? I know why I ask questions specifically. I know why I try to move to postpone before I vote. So all the great speeches and all the downing of my words and politics and whatever, I stand my ground and call for the question.
Before you call the question, or before
I done called it.
Well, I'm not going to recognize the motion.
It ain't nothing you can recognize. When I get the floor, I can call for the question. So if you have to ask your parliamentarian, you gave me the floor, I call for the question. Y'all do it to me all the time. I want y'all to vote without knowing everything.
I'm going to have the opportunity to speak after everybody
I
else
would,
has had.
I would call for, I would say point of order, Mr. Chair, and my point is this a call for the question on the floor. And
I
so
don't-
turn to your
I
man,
have-
Mr.
I have
Bay.
not heard support for that, and I am going to speak. So
Mr.
there is a motion on the floor that died for lack of support.
Do you believe a call for the question warrants a support?
Yes.
Brother, I'm not going to appeal your decision, but see how it feels when y'all call for the question on me? God bless you. Do your thing. I've made my point, and I'm telling you I don't have all the answers. And sir, no disrespect to you. It's the way that they don't do their job, and they don't even want me to let you politely come up and ask questions. I'm cool. I sleep well at night.
Right. I want it noted that this is a lease for space.
Right.
It has nothing to do with a minimum requirement for ambulance, exclusivity for having an ambulance in the city. If they want to take a run to Mackinac Island for an ambulance, God bless them. This is to rent space in our buildings. And any company that comes to us and wants to rent space, depending on what they need, I'll work out of my car and they can rent out my office if it's going to bring revenue to the city of Flint. All of this other stuff that we've been talking about for the last 15 or 20 minutes is totally irrelevant to the question that's before us, which is a lease for space. So we will call roll.
Okay, this is on resolution 150798. Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Ms. Van Buren?
Yes.
Mr. Kincaid?
Yes.
Mr. Mays?
No, not enough information.
Ms. Poplar? Ms. Poplar?
Yes.
The vote is 8 yes, 1 no.
And the motion carries. 150817, which is a budget amendment. Do we have a motion
Mr.
on
President, I'd move approval.
Support.
that? It's been moved and supported. Is there discussion?
Yeah, what's that budget amendment to do?
150817, it is before you.
And that's CBGG revolving loan funds. I
It is.
remember discussing it. I can support that.
Any further discussion? Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Freeman?
Yes?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Ms. Van Buren?
Yes.
Mr. Kincaid?
Yes.
Mr. Mays?
Yes.
Ms. Poplar?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
The vote is 9 yes, 0 no.
Motion carries. There are two resolutions that are connected, if we could take those both together, which is setting a public hearing date for an Oprah.
Monica, those are yours.
Clerk says we should do them separate. 150828,
Mr. President,
Councilman Mays.
yeah, I would move those in order to set the public hearing on the obsolete property tax district as well as the obsolete property tax.
We're going to do them
exemption
separate. 828 will be the one that you're moving.
separately.
You gonna do them separate? Oh,
The clerk has requested that.
okay.
So I have a motion
Support.
to approve on 828. It's been moved and supported. Is there discussion? Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Ms. Van Buren?
Yes.
Mr. Kincaid?
Yes.
Mr. Mays?
Yes.
Ms. Poplar? Yes. Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
The vote is 9 yes, 0 no.
Next item on the agenda is 150829.
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported. Discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President, as long as we get the pertinent information that we heard we will get in the planning meeting and so forth and so on, you know, everything will go pretty smooth with me. But for this purposes, I can support it.
Is there any further discussion? Can we have roll call?
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Ms. Van Buren?
Yes.
Mr. Kincaid?
Yes.
Mr. Mays?
Yes.
Ms. Poplar? Yes. Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
The vote is 9 yes, 0 no.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is ordinance for first reading, 150830. It is a zoning change for property on Grand Traverse and Fourth, requested by Kettering University. Is there a motion?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there discussion?
Mr. President, that motion was to move to council.
I'm
We
sorry.
already in council, ain't we?
I meant I move for approval. All right.
For first reading.
Right, is there any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Councilman Mays?
I asked questions about that in committee meeting. I see Adam Jarrett. Maybe he can shed some light on me. He know that area. Can I hear from him?
No, but he's more than welcome to speak at the public hearing, and that will
Mr.
be-
Jarrett, you can come whisper in my ear.
That will be
Next
council meeting.
So this is for first reading, and
This is
then
for
it'll be a
first reading.
public hearing on it. You understand that?
Any further discussion? Can we have roll
Yeah,
call, please?
Mr. President.
Yes.
Ms. Van Buren?
Yes.
Mr.
You done
Kincaid?
passed.
Yes.
Mr. Mays?
No.
Ms. Poplar?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
This is
No, I'm
ridiculous.
gonna say no only because I don't understand what's going on right now.
Okay.
Mr.
And that's
Winfrey?
rude when I got the floor to call
Mr.
for the
Winfrey?
vote. It's
Yes.
This
out
is
of
my
order.
ward and I don't understand what's going
The
on
vote
right
is
here.
7
I'm gonna say
yes, 2 no.
That's what caused the problem.
If I could repeat the vote.
Please.
The vote is 7 yes, 2 no on 150830.
Mr. President, I move 150794 for approval.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion on 794? Can we have roll call, please?
Now, this is adoption.
This is for adoption.
Right.
Excuse me.
Roll call.
James P. Cole Boulevard. Sit down.
Ms. Van Buren?
Yes.
Mr. Kincaid?
Yes.
Point of order, Mr. President.
We've started the vote, Councilman. That's out of order.
Is that how we gonna play?
Yes.
Mr. Mays?
I appeal the decision that we out of order.
No.
I'm appealing it. If it die for lack of a second,
I'm
it
not
die.
I'm not
How you
recognizing
not gonna recognize an appeal that you just fly through discussion
Councilman, are you
on?
going to vote or no?
Are you gonna recognize the appeal?
I'll give you one last opportunity, and then I'm going to rule you out of order.
How you already did.
Councilman, he's not voting. Absent.
Absent, okay. Ms. Poplar?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
The vote is 8 yes and 1 absent.
Motion carries, and it is adopted.
Yes, it is adopted.
All right, last thing on our agenda is public speakers. We do have several on the list tonight.
Yes.
Madam Clerk?
The first public speaker is Mr. R.L. Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell?
I'm Mr. Ariel Mitchell, and I reside at 759 East Linden. And I'm speaking on the MLM service, the guy that come to Flint. I had a problem with the MLM service right down on Oak Street. My significant other called them in. You can see Hurley Hospital from Oak Street. But they wanted $600 so bad, they gun sealed her check from Arby's. And she wanted to go again, but they said, "You gonna pay us the money I ain't never saw something like that in my life." So I recommend this man. It sounds like he's from another country, but I recommend that. Where'd he go? He got an accident, but I ain't never been to Jamaica in my life. But if I ever go over there and get treated like this fella, I will. Man, I don't know what I do. I'll speak back, but I don't want to be premeditated judgment like this 356, all that junk going on in Flint now. And on a Sunday doing that, you don't recognize the Robert Rule order, these landlords and stuff around making fun of people going to church on Sunday. You want talking about fix the toilet before you go to church in the bow tie wearing, and I ain't saying nothing else. So this is my fault.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Our next public speaker?
Our next speaker is Ms. Kimberly Willard. Ms. Willard? She's gone, is she? Our next speaker is Mrs. Beverly Hazard. Mrs. Hazard? She's on the line.
I'm Bethany Hazard, and I live in the city of Flint over in the west side. And I got my water results back with lead in it. And about over 3 months ago, I submitted a water test to the city. I never got my results back from the city. Well, the thing that bothers me, I know you can't do nothing about the lead, but the sand that comes out when I'm taking a bath, like yellow sediment, I wish somebody would help me with that. And that's what I would like help with, since I've called everybody and talked to Walling, talked to everybody. I'm still having sand, so I know you can't do nothing about the lead, so I just don't drink it, but I'm taking a bath in dirt, and I would like some help with that, because I don't have family in the outskirts where I can go bathe. So that's all I want to ask, is some help. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mrs. Clarissa Stebbins. Ms. Stebbins.
Hello, my name is Florlisa Stebbins. I was up here once again, so I don't need to reiterate on my address, I don't think, do I? Okay. First of all, I would like to state that I see that all the state employees, or the employees, the CFO, the city administrator, and all that have left before our, we got to say anything, so we can see where they stand. Mayor Walling left a long time ago, so that's where my vote will be, along with a lot of others in this city. I hate to be political about this, but it's sad that the people that we vote for, or got appointed to us, don't give a crap about what we think. And it's become obvious over the last few months, actually, almost a year now. So anyways, to move on, I wanted to talk on the water. We know you guys have your hands tied, okay? We know that the Receivership Transaction Advisory Board, I stress receivership, they can overrule you. The CFO can overrule you. If the mayor or the city administrator, that it's unreasonable, but it can be done no matter what we say. But we still want to be able to come in and talk, because there's a lot of people that need to get educated, and we need to have knowledgeable answers. So if you could please possibly make sure to try to do some kind of meeting for us for the water. You can see everybody is outraged about it. Second of all, another reason why I came up here is I'm outraged personally. I'm from the First Ward, and I've went back because of the water issue and looked at a lot of the city council meetings, and I feel I'm being discriminated against. In fact, there was a scene in one of them where Eric Mays, my councilman, was pretty much told that, he asked if he was being discriminated against by race, gender, or ward. And Josh Freeman stated that he was being discriminated against ward and gender. I'm part of that ward, Mr. Freeman. And I'm going to let you know I'm watching you, along with 10,000 people in our ward. Now, we are the ones who elect you guys, and I do realize that. And if we didn't believe you could do your job, we would not have elected each and every one of you. Okay, I'm very upset. Each person, sorry, I'll wrap it up. Each person on this board, we could point at and say something's wrong with them, okay? But you guys need to grow up and learn how to work together and quit discriminating, because if not, you're going to be held accountable. Thank you.
Next speaker?
Our next speaker is Mrs. Carolyn Shannon. Ms. Shannon.
To the Honorable Council, Mr. President Josh Kincaid, and the amazing City Clerk Inez Brown. We're bickering about the water, but you know and I know it goes much deeper. We had Kurtz here. We should be celebrating all the good work he did. We had Brown here, and we should be celebrating all the good work he did. We had Darnell Early here, and we should be celebrating all the good work he did. So we have another emergency manager for 5 years. I think that's dictatorship. Anybody that wins an election should be able to choose their own administrator. That's the way it was in the past, and the past builds the future. And we did not ask for Republicans to come in here and run our city. This is a Democratic county. Look at the big picture. Kurtz filled his pockets, Brown filled his pockets, Darnell Early filled his pockets. Are they spending that money here in Flint? No. When these people leave here, they're going to the Hamptons, or they're going to Malibu, or the Greek Isles, or somewhere. But are they spending that money they made off the backs of senior citizens and the very less fortunate people? I'm asking you to vote to return the thousands of dollars you took from me and my family. I can't go to the Hamptons. I can't go to Malibu. I can't go to South Beach, Miami. So I'm asking you to give me my money so that I can enjoy my life. I'd like to say a few more words, Mr. President.
If you'll wrap it up quickly,
I think the problem is we're not asking these people to be accountable. Mr. Early, how many jobs you brought here? Manufacturing jobs are what we need. Jobs that pay, where families can make a living and spend their money here and live here. We cannot do business in this city. I want my ward, the 7th ward, and all the other wards that I've been passing through, I want the 7th ward cleaned up. It's too much blight. I'm across the street from Burton. It's clean in Burton. But on my side of the street in Center Road, it's blight. All down Lippincott, blight. I want it cleaned up.
Thank you, Ms. Shannon.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is Mr. Tony Palladino, Jr. Mr.
Sure.
Palladino.
Good evening.
I got my hands behind my back there, Josh. I try and hold myself, man, but brother, that dome meeting was a farce, and you know it, and I want to apologize for the outburst. But you just mentioned something I might be interested in. Some place to stay. I'll pay you a little bit. I'm getting ready to board all my rentals up. I got called in from up north. I was playing in the Asabo River. Anybody heard of it? It's the 3rd cleanest river in the world. You probably dunk your head down and take a big old swallow and not get hurt. I'd like a minute of silence for your residents. We're dead. And you may think this is a grandiose me acting. My wife's back there biting her tongue. We're dead. We're dead! Can't take it no more, you guys. It's a crying shame. This man's leaving your city. My family's leaving your city. I'm trying to get my kid into Millington. I hope the buzzer don't go off, because I don't feel like this a lot. And when I do, I try to maintain myself, but you guys know I can't. I can't sleep at night. I'm up north for a month, and guess who I'm thinking about? Guess who I'm thinking about? You guys. You guys. I'm done. I'm leaving the thing that I love the most. And I don't care if you're black, red, green, Indian. I don't give a shit. I love you all. This is from the heart. You killed me. You frickin' killed me. And I'm overreacting? My mayor walked out of here. My mayor, who I voted for twice. My fingers in his face tell him that the lead is bad. No, it ain't, Mr. Palladino. I drink that water. We've cleaned these streets together. Mr. Buchanan's gone. We picked up dead dogs. I went to Foss Avenue Church and prayed with people, and I'm not very big on that. Not that I don't believe in God, Miss Poplar. It's just that I don't like the way he gets this exempt stuff. And I prayed with Foss Avenue. And we ate together. We broke bread together. This low-life East Side resident didn't know he was poor till he was told he was poor. I love you guys. Get your head out of your butts. This water is nasty and it's killing us. Hi, Monica. 7th Ward Tony here, born and raised. And by God, it looks like I might die there tomorrow. Josh, I'm boarding, my house is up. Can you explain government immunity? This is being thrown at me. I've asked you 3 times now. No one's standing up and saying, hey, man, we are at fault. Let us help you. You are a business, Mr. Palladino. You got dirty. You've made things clean. It's been a while. Here's why. I had to step back. I appreciate you giving me a little bit more time. You guys fuel me every time I come up here. Up here. Josh, you're going to arrest us later for speaking out. We want to speak to our people. Where are they? $180,000 just walked out of here. You're giving $100,000 to a company. You just give a 12-year freeze. I'm dying on the east side. They're dying on the north side, the south side, the west side. Take a look. People, come together. It ain't the mayor. It ain't this. It's us. It's us. And let me ask you this. I've stood before you talking about this and that. Why? You don't think my heart's not here? I'm up north and I can't even get in a boat without freaking out, man. I hope you guys are hearing. I really hope you're hearing. The people here are dying, man. I want a tax freeze on my houses. I want some kind of investigation federally, like we've been screaming. Who's at fault here? You? 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 Who's at fault? Who cares? You know, this KWA pipeline's coming through. You know and I know. We're going to be paying out our butt. Let's not, and this is it, and I'll cut this short right here. I know, and I appreciate it. I really do. Back in the day, when we had a problem from the house to the road, the city took care of it. They changed that around. So now it's from the house, from the road to the houses. The landlord, the renter, the owner's responsibility. When this KWA comes in to clean stuff up and get this infrastructure done, I don't want to be responsible for that old lead. Mr. Mott put that stuff in there, whoever. That's how old it is. Understand what I'm saying? Is that going to fall on me on top of everything else? That's what we need to know, guys. And thank you, Eric. And happy birthday. September 16th is a good day for some warriors.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Mrs. Donna Popla. Ms. Popla.
My name is Donna Poplar, and for the record, I stand before you again this evening because I'm concerned that you have individuals such as Councilman Eric Mays and other individuals that are doing a scare tactic on the people of this city as relates to our water. And the fact that Mayor Dane Walling should be in jail. I think this body, by way of your city attorney, has an obligation to make sure that the individuals in this community is properly informed of Honorable Judge Hayman's decision and ruling. There's nowhere in that ruling that it said that Mayor Dane Walling committed a crime and that he should be confined to jail and or prison. Anytime anyone is in violation of the governing tool that governs this body, which is a city charter, that is perceived to be unlawful, but not criminal in nature. And that needs to be cleared up. We're in a season right now in the city of Flint that I believe that Flint is in the midst of a storm. And anyone who understands the midst of a storm is tossed and driven. So we're going to have our ups and we're going to have our downs. There is no secret, never have been a secret, never will be a secret, that I am a strong, consistent, unwavering supporter of Mayor Dane Walling. But I didn't come here to make this political. But I do recall not long ago that Councilman Eric Mays uses this spiritual quote many times. Acknowledge God in all thy ways, and he shall direct your path. The God I serve, and I come for that, God is not emanated. He's a real God. He's not a God that you can push buttons on, Councilman Mays. But I am reminded of a scripture that talks about a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. I still admonish this city council to make sure you put in place a rule of conduct that is very important, because we look forward to this council to act in a professional manner at all times and not take upon themselves to do a scare tactic in this community during elections. And I support you, Councilman Winfrey, on that, or even if we're not in an election season. You have an obligation to be protecting the health and the safety and the living conditions of the people in this city. And that's what I ask that you guys come together to do in a professional manner, so that when we come to these meetings, we see togetherness. And it's okay to agree to disagree. But here tonight, your displays, you're allowing Eric Mays, Councilman Eric Mays, to serve as a bully. And that spirit needs to be brought up under submission. It needs to be corrected. And to me, bullies are cowards. And oftentimes, bullies who are cowards have unresolved issues, sometimes stemming from childhood, that carries over to the adulthood, that interferes with the relationships. We should not have to witness that. No one, whether they live in the city of Flint, whether they don't live in the city of Flint, whether they support the mayor, or whether they support Karen Weaver, any other candidate for that matter. This is about a place where you come to handle business, handle professionally, and do it decent and in order. And again, the God I serve will never lead his people to do anything ignorant and that's outside of the will of God. That won't happen. So playing with scripture, I have a problem with that. So I come with a Holy Ghost boldness because I can. And so I want again to say to this record, I respect you. I respect your office by which you hold. I would respect even more if all 9 of you could come to one agreement, and that what you do, you would do it to the best interest of the people and not to the political candidates by which you're supporting.
Thank you.
Mr. President, real quick.
No, we'll do it at the end.
Real quick, Mr. President, if I may.
Personal
attacks.
I'm not going to recognize you.
Personal attack,
We're
bullies.
going to go to our next public speaker, and you'll have ample opportunity.
You let him
at the end of the meeting.
to a speech.
It was a moment of weakness that I won't allow to happen again.
Okay, the next speaker is Mr. Adam
he should be in
Jerricks.
jail.
Mr. Adam Jerricks.
I'm just telling you, it sounds good.
I'd like for once to have my name pronounced properly. It's Garrix, not Jerricks.
I apologize to you.
Okay, thank you. That last vote on that ordinance change, two of those lots you didn't have any right to vote on. I didn't ask you to turn them into commercial lots. And I made that pretty clear to the zoning commission, which is pretty clearly bought and paid for also, and they didn't want to listen to it. There's other issues involved as well, which concern my right to and access to the public road. So even if those were to be considered Kettering's properties, which they're not, they cannot deny me right to and access to the public road. There's a lot of other legal issues going on, but the main point about that is that those two parcel numbers ending in 03 or 003 and 004 are in court, in litigation right now, as to who actually owns them. So that ordinance change vote on those two lots does not apply. And as far as any other litigation I might have to take on that, I will if I have to, but you really should, somebody should consider amending that last ordinance change for Kettering. I think it was the 150830, to exclude those, because I was just in conference with Kettering's attorneys and Mr. Ayers this morning, where we pretty much discussed that, yeah, most likely they are mine. And they agreed to have a certified survey done of those lots to verify exactly what I'm arguing. And I made this clear to the zoning board, and they completely ignored it. I know I loved your really aggressive yes there, Mr. Nelson, because you knew I was at that meeting and you did not like the fact that I came to stand up for what's my property. My property. Okay? In litigation. Now, also, I'm the one that got the restraining order on Ambrose's decision, directed by Val Washington and advised by Val Washington. And I bring that up because you said, Mr. Davis, that there's only one thing we can do, and that's that federal court stuff that you were talking about. There's not. There's a lot of other things that we can do. There's a lot of other extraordinary writs. There's a lot of things that individuals can do, even as council people, separate from their position, or just as an individual like me who got a restraining order against Jerry Ambrose's decision to annex Carriagetown, which, by the way, the city and Kettering and Hurley are going to be found in contempt. That's what I'm after on that one. It's no secret, so it's not like I'm hiding something. Things were tore down after the restraining order was issued and handed to these people, and you all had an obligation to inform them as well, and they proceeded to tear properties down anyway, against due process. So I know you can keep talking while I'm talking, Mr. Nelson. It's okay. We're used to it at this point. You can shove some chocolate in your mouth, too, while you're at it. As far as other business that I was here to discuss, because I'm going to run out of time because I thought I had time to talk about my properties, there's a lot of other issues. One is that this special committee that got formed unanimously a week before a primary has somebody on the committee who I don't want, would not prefer to be on the committee now, because clearly he has no intentions of standing up for the people's rights in this city, whether it's in his ward or any other ward. But there's been no progress on that either, so I'm looking for two things. Somebody amend that last ordinance change to recognize the fact that it's my property. I mean, otherwise, I got to proceed with my own litigation on it as well, which may force me to do something with the city. And I'd like to see some action on this special committee that was started. You know, as far as everything else goes, all this talk about the water, he's right. You've been here for 30 years. You've been a company man the entire time. I don't think there's one time where I could see, me personally, in your record, in your history for the city of Flint, that you've actually done anything to service the residents of the city of Flint. You've been here 30 years. You knew 30 years ago that we had an 80 to 100-year-old water system and said and did nothing about it. You're on the KWA. You're on the KWA. You know it's an incompatible public office violation, and you're sitting up here talking about conflicts of interest when there's clearly criminal things happening here. Well, we've never heard anything since I brought it up, other than, oh, it's been sent to committee and there's some opinion on the matter. But Johnny Coleman, Bernard Lawler, and now 2 or 3 of you, including the mayor, are violating the Incompatible Public Offices Act. So there's a lot of criminal corruption stuff going on here, and y'all are just like clapping your hands and voting like it's no big deal. And you, Ms. Van Buren, I've been wanting to say this to you for a long time, and then I'll wrap it up. You, at that Woodside Church meeting with the water activists some months ago, were discussing and planning the possibility of doing civil disobedience on behalf of the people. And I got up and walked out of the room because I was appalled at the fact that you would suggest that some of us do civil disobedience on that issue, but you were unwilling to do it yourself. You wanted to throw us out there as a bunch of little puppets to play with, to bring the issue to the forefront, what, maybe for you and for your ward, but you were unwilling to do it yourself? Those are my properties, people. that needs to be amended or dealt with or addressed. And this special committee that you guys keep pushing off and pushing off and pushing off needs to be addressed, because our good mayor, Bribery Boy, who has a history of bribery in Minnesota, the Urban Coalition, who subsequently a city councilman went to prison for 30 months, and he was connected to that and had to give testimony to that, and was the treasurer of the Urban Coalition, if I didn't already say that, is involved with the Flint Public Art Project, which I've been saying for weeks. All the evidence out there, just type in Flint Public Art Project, Steven Zacks, Dane Walling. He's not inadvertently added to the advisory council list on that website by accident. All the press will show you. He sat down outside in Farmington Hills with Steve Zacks and other supposed investors. But the bottom line there is $500,000 of our money and other grant money has been spent at the old Spencer's Mortuary, and there's not anything to show for it whatsoever.
Thank you. Our next speaker?
Our next speaker is Ms. Naira Sharif. Ms. Sharif?
I believe she's gone.
Okay. Ms. Melissa Mays? Ms. Melissa Mays?
She's gone.
Okay, she's also gone. Okay, Mr. Arthur Woodson?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me start off by saying, Mr. Davis, your credibility sucks. First, you went on Duma's radio station and said that if you lose, you would support Karen Weaver. Then you went on Facebook when we was talking on Facebook and said that you would support Mays if he put in a motion for the special meeting. You lied. Your credibility sucks. Mr. Kerry, I used to like you, man, admire you, but you bought and paid for also. Ms. Popular, you already know where I stand with you. You haven't did anything for the Second Ward, and then everybody has a thing to talk about Mays. I'm coming for you, recall. We starting a whole new day here. Miss Galloway. Hey, listen, I got you covered. I got you covered.
Councilwoman.
I'm tired of counterfeit Christians running around here saying scriptures and can't say nothing right. You out of order. You are out of order. Robert's rules. You are out of order. Do not speak. Do not speak. Be quiet. Be quiet. You are out of order. You are out of order. I can support my. Listen, your people talked about Mays. I'm talking about you. All right? Thank you very much.
Time out.
I'm talking about you now.
Sir, time out.
My time don't start. Hey.
I got you covered. Everybody said talking all night tonight. So listen, Councilwoman, audience people.
I'm good. I'm
not talking about you. I'm talking about everybody.
I didn't say anything
personal. We can
personal.
throw all of ourselves out if that makes what happens.
All I'm doing is talking about voting records here.
So I can do that.
That's it. All I'm talking about is voting records. I ain't say nothing personal. All
right.
I ain't say anything personal. Now I can
man,
speak
your
personal.
mouth is just going. I just asked you to be quiet for a second.
Hey,
so
man,
that we can get
you're
straight
talking
down.
to me.
Right.
All right, then. So I'm talking back to you.
As soon as I'm finished, you can finish too.
All right, then. You was done.
You're still going.
You still going.
It's like dealing with my kids.
Oh, man, go on somewhere with that foolishness, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, one thing about it, right? I am a veteran. I'm 100% disabled. I went to war. I'm a nuclear biological chemical specialist. I'm not a dumb dude. I will die for my country, and I will die for my family and my friends. Don't come to me with no foolishness, because I do not give a rat's butt about nobody else. You do not scare me. I am not scared. Always remember that. I am not a scary dude. Don't come lying to me. Don't come lying to the people. Just like with that water report that I read, they didn't accept the lead experts until September the 3rd when I went to the newspaper, MLive. I went to the newspaper at 9:55. They accepted the lead experts at 2 o'clock that day. Mr. Winfrey, stand tall. Ms. Van Buren, quit rolling with Kincaid, Popular, and Kerry. Because I'm telling you, what you're doing is wrong. Ms. Galloway, please, don't let Freeman and Kincaid and all the rest of them get you caught up in wrongdoings. Do due diligence. How much would Flint have made if they would have went on and got their own ambulance services? How much would they have made? Is Buchanan on the board of Universal Ambulance? What was the other question? Is he on the board of ambulance service? it was some other questions, but how much money would Flint have made if they did their own ambulance service? Would that have brought Flint some jobs through the city, through the union? Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Heidi Fanoff. Ms. Fanoff.
Good evening, Council. Good evening. Hi. My name's Heidi Fanoff. I'm a resident of the 5th Ward, and I've been elected as a charter commissioner for the City of Flint Charter Review Commission. And I'm coming here today to share with you some information on our charter review kickoff meeting. I have some flyers here. Hopefully you picked one up, and if you didn't, I'll make sure to pass one out to you before we leave. It's taken us a few months to get organized, and we're ready to start getting to work. So this first meeting is going to be held at the University of Michigan. It's in the University Center. It's on Saturday, September 26th from 10 a.m. to noon. At this meeting, we're going to be working with the community to create a shared vision of government. It's really important that as many people as possible reach out and be part of the charter review process. This is an important opportunity for the citizens of Flint to get involved and find ways to make government that you want to have in the city. And also, I encourage all of you to reach out to your constituents and encourage them to attend. So this kickoff meeting will be the first large community event that we put together, but we hope there'll be many more beyond this. And also, we are going to be starting an advisory committee that will be meeting in the 1st of October. It will be the first meeting of the advisory committee. It will be open to as many City of Flint residents that want to participate. And also, we ask that you share that information, which we'll send to you through the clerk's office via email, about opportunities for folks to become part of that advisory committee. I know that it's going to be important that we all work together, citizens, residents, elected officials, department heads across the city, to have this process really represent the community. And I thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Our next public speaker.
Our next speaker is Mr. Chris Del Moroni. Mr. Del Moroni.
RL, please. Come on.
Thank you. My name is Chris Del Moroni, and I live in Flint, Michigan. It was probably about 6 weeks ago that I addressed council. It was certainly before the decision in the court in regards to the water. I had mentioned then that I hope through the court decision we do not run into a situation like that of the Genesee Towers. If you recall, Genesee Towers cost the residents of the city of Flint some $9 million. It was put on our taxes. And what has happened, in my view, in that court decision that was just rendered, was that the water and sewer, you need to get this, the water and sewer charge is being reduced. The water and sewer charge is being reduced. The water and sewer service charge is not, from the decision forward. And if I'm mistaken in what I'm saying, please let me know. But those charges moving forward have not been reduced. And in my opinion, we paid, or the city, some will say borrowed, some will say stole from the water and sewer fund to run city operations and other things. Now, that tells me that there was more than enough money in the water and service fund to do what they had to do because they were able to borrow from that. By the city now being required to, a couple different things may happen, probably and most likely have to pay that back to the water and service fund, because and eventually, hopefully, the residents get a credit or you know, get some payment back. But because the water and sewer service charges have not been reduced, we, in essence, we the people, will be paying ourselves the money from the lawsuit. It's simply incredible. It's amazing how things turn out in this city. The lawsuit with Genesee Towers was simply the legal means for that money to be taken from the residents. And I think what we're seeing in the decision, at least in my opinion, what I'm seeing, in my eyes, what I'm seeing is that, again, the court system, even though the city did not take us to court, we took them, we are now in a situation where we're in essence doing what we did with the towers. We're paying ourselves back. It is imperative that water and sewer service fee is reduced or eliminated. And though they have the right to do that moving forward, again, from my understanding of the decision, is it's to me it's incomprehensible, because again, the reason I feel that we're paying ourselves back is because we're paying too much into those funds, because the city was able to borrow from those funds. If they did not borrow from the funds, it's telling me we paid more than what we needed to, because the extra money was there, and all that extra money came from us, and now we're paying it back so they can, in essence, refund or credit our accounts. So I don't know, you know, somehow I think it needs to be resolved, and I think, you know, it looks like Scott wants to comment on it, so I'll give up my time or later.
Our next speaker is Ms. Leanne Walters. Ms. Walters?
She's gone.
She's gone? Okay. Ms. Kathy Hayes?
She's gone.
She's gone also. Ms. Peggy Brisbane Noblet?
She bounced.
She's also gone. Mr. Quincy Murphy?
He's gone.
He's gone also. Oh, she's here. Okay.
Trying to move things along, but
That's it.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Quincy Murphy. These hands is like this because I am freezing in here. Turn the air conditioner off, please. But I come here to speak tonight on a couple of issues. The first issue was I was listening to 1420 a.m. Saturday. It's called "The Truth Shall Make You Free" by AC Dumas. And I just want to come here tonight to make the record straight for the listening audience that may be watching this on Channel 17, and to city councilmen. I want to thank you guys for supporting me to be on the MTA board. AC Dumas running for 3rd Ward City Councilman, who I am not supporting and endorsing for 3rd Ward City Councilman. I'm endorsing Kerry Nelson. I made a decision not to run for office at the late Herb Cleve's funeral. I was in a funeral and the Lord spoke to me and he told me he didn't want me to run for office. He wanted me to focus in the community. So I decided then that I did not want to run for office, but AC Dumas told his listening audience that I was brought and paid for by the mayor. And if I'm not mistaken, the mayor brought my name to council, and council voted for me to sit on the MTA board. And I don't remember or recall talking to any one of you guys about a backdoor deal or paying me or me paying y'all. I didn't get $1. If I did, y'all owe me because I didn't get it. And he putting out there that I was brought for. And I just want the record to be clear and straight that I was not brought. I supported Dane Wallen when he ran in 2011. I supported him when he ran for his 4-year term, and I'm supporting him this term around. I never got paid by Dane Wallen or he never did nothing up under the table. I just like his leadership, and as a community activist, I never really had a problem with him. He been supporting the work that I do in the community, so I'm just supporting him. And if people don't like it, everybody have a right to vote for who they want to. My other issue that I have a problem with, I went to Vernon Chapel Church to the water meeting because I'm concerned about the water. I've been supporting and working with the group on water issues. I was out here with Councilman Davis when we was out here freezing in the wintertime rallying. But I pulled back from the water because, and I'm finna wrap up, I pulled back from the water thing because you start having all these other people that wasn't concerned about the water, and all of a sudden they concerned about the water. They started turning it into political thing because it's election. So everybody jumped on the bandwagon talking about water, and now you got this other candidate that's running for mayor, and now you concerned about the water. But when we was in the NAACP, me and Barbara Griffin Wilson talking about the water was never an issue. So now all of a sudden the water issue. But I was appalled when I went to Vernon Chapel Church and to go concerning the water. Then once we got to the church, they got to announcing her as a candidate, then passing out absentee ballot applications. And I'm just thinking, this is not what I came here for. It's not about absentee ballot applications. It's about the water. I come here to learn about the water, and they turned it and twisted it around and telling 10 people to go take it to your family members and friends. And I just thought it was a political move to use the water issue to get people to go out and vote for Karen Weaver, and I wasn't with that. And my last one before I sit down, they had some distribution of water filters at the church here on Pearson Road in Flint. And if you was a Dane Wallen supporter, they was giving you problems. Because somebody supporting Dane Wallen, they can't have no filter. This stuff is getting so political, and I'll be glad when the election is over with, and I'm not wavering, I'm not brought, I'm voting for Dane Wallen, I'm supporting him, I'm knocking on doors, I want my family and friends to vote for him, and if people don't like it, so be it. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the end of our public speakers.
Mr. President.
Councilman Davis has requested to speak first. He said he had to.
I wanted to speak so I could ask to be excused. So I'll wait. Can I go? Look, since we're asking, can I go second?
I think Councilman Kincaid asked to go second.
Can I go third?
Councilwoman Van Buren asked to go third.
Can I go fourth?
I think there's a pattern developing here that you may be picking up on. You'll be last, I believe. So.
Oh, see.
I want to make sure that we have a great opportunity.
I done been last and adjourned on, sir. It makes me no difference. I just asked to see how it was happening.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank each and every one who attended this city council meeting and was able to put their issues out on the floor, irregardless to how one may feel about, you know, how you feel about one another. But it is a good thing that you come and you express yourself, because this is what this is made for you to be able to share your thoughts, share your feelings, and look for some form of recourse in your problems. I want you to know, each and every one, that I have an issue with the quality of water and the water rates, and I hope and pray to God that someday that this issue becomes resolved. But I do want people to know that you can't be deceptive, and you can't use deceptive intelligence when you're trying to win people over, to get people to look at your views and get people to know that you're a great leader. I would never do that. I would give facts. My facts might not be popular, but I would give facts from my understanding. And the only way that you can resolve this issue is you have to take it to the federal courts. One person came to the mic and said that there is something we can do in regards to the order that Jerry Ambrose put in place. I beg the difference. There's nothing we can do in regards to that order. There are some things that City Council can do, but whenever the state has placed an order in effect saying that we cannot amend it and change it, then it's just nothing we can do. But you can go to the federal courts and file a federal claim, a damage. 42 U.S.C. 1983. I think I spoke about that enough, but I do want people to know that I changed my mind in certain situations, one when it comes to endorsement and one when it came to supporting the motion that was put at the table, is because I don't desire to deceive anyone. When I die, I want my children, when they grow up and my grandchildren to grow up, that they won't say that my grandfather deceptively, intellectually used people in a manner by prostituting their ills, their problems, and using it for my own personal gain. I don't want people to think that I've done that to them. So I might say yes and I might say no to something, but I tell you, when I say yes and when I say no, it's genuinely in my heart that I feel it's for the better interest of the people. That's what I feel. I know at the end of the day, people may not like Councilman Davis. They may say, hey, you know, you said this and you said that. But when I go back into my archives and I lay back in my bed and I pray to God and I ask God, is this a wise decision that I should make? Should I use this decision and use it for the best of the people, or should I use it for myself? God said, use it for the people. So my decisions, I changed my mind. Because I don't think that me changing my mind is really a slight to the people, but it's really a benefit to the people. I'm not going to get too far off into that, because then I'll be casting aspersions, and I don't want people to think that I'm throwing slights at them. But I do want people to know that when I got elected in this office as an elected official, I took a vow and an oath that I would make decisions that's beneficial and better for my people on all ethnic groups, white, black, Chinese, brown, Hispanic, whatever race of people you are. My decisions is predicated upon bringing some form of justice, some form of life into your problems that you have felt that life don't exist no more. Unfortunately, when I came in office under the emergency manager law. It kind of pushed me back a little bit, and it made me feel frustrated and stressed in knowing that a lot of things that I thought that I could do, I couldn't do. Unfortunately, I pray to God every day and I ask God, can He someday bring relief into the community where injustice has somewhat prevailed? But I do feel that each and every one of my colleagues shares the same passion. It may seem like we are against you, but we're not. I know I'm not. And I don't think each and every one of us are as well. But at the end of the day, some form of professionalism has to come in place. The audience, I respect what you come and say to us. But if we all supposed to be working for the betterment of this city, it's not good and it's not wise to come to the podium and throw slights and throw darts at the people who are here to represent you. Because most of the time, and I'm going to end it, most of the time we get haughty-minded and we get to the point that we think that we know it all. And right at that particular time, we find out that all that we thought that we knew, we only know little of. Because there are intricate and mechanics behind a political seat that sometimes people on the other side don't understand. So most of the time we come and we make arguments predicated on emotion. But when your arguments is predicated on emotion, it gets you nowhere. Because emotion fights against logic. Emotion fights against the know. And most of the time the emotions is the not knowing and it's fighting against the knowing. Only reason why I made a statement and I was transparent and open with each and every one of you in the audience, that we can sit behind a door and we can bring 1 million people in behind that door and talk about quality of water all day. But at the end of the day, that's not solution driven. Because we're going to walk outside of that door with the same problem, drinking water that's not quality water. So when will we become solution driven? You got to go to the federal court and get the judge to overrule the state. Same way Attorney Val Washington did. Val Washington didn't bring a group of people inside of a room and we all sat there and we huffed and we puffed and we was all screaming hoopla. No, him and Councilman Kincaid and the Shears, they went and took a motion to the courts, and that motion was solution driven. That's what we have to do at this point. We have to be solution driven. I did 4 protests. Did it solve anything? No. Did it keep the issue at the forefront? Yes. But in the end, was the lawsuit filed? Yes. Was that solution driven? Yes. We have to be solution driven. The issue gonna always be at the forefront when people got skin ailments, people got stomach viruses, people got all type of problems. But we gotta go to the federal court, and that's solution driven.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Larissa. I'm just being honest with you, Ms. Larissa. We have to be solution driven.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Kincaid?
Just real quick, Chris, when we filed the lawsuit originally, it was denied to amend our complaint for the service charge for water and sewer. That couldn't go to the appeals court. That claim has been refiled and is going to be addressed very shortly. That's all, Mr. President, and I have to leave.
Thank you for your time. Councilwoman Van Buren. Councilwoman Galloway.
I just, even though they're not here, I wanted to address Adam, and his pronounced his last name
Garrix.
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 He continues to make accusations about how this council is not addressing his claim that there's a violation for certain people on this council to that are part of the Karagandhi water. But when I stepped outside, you know, I asked him to please refrain from those comments because he personally turned in a letter. He and it looks like Anthony Palladino, they sent me a copy via email, and on May 13, 2015. And so I followed up with the attorney, the city attorney, and don't know how myself and or my colleagues can tell the Genesee County prosecutor how to handle such a complaint. And so, so just for the record, he took it to David Layton, and so they have a jurisdiction that, if I'm mistaken, I'd like for my colleagues to clarify. I didn't deem that we have an authority over the Genesee County prosecutor. So I just wanted that to be on the record. Number two, to speak on the filters, the water filters that were given out. I took part in that, giving out those filters. I wasn't aware of anyone being turned away because they were supporters of Mayor Walling. I actually was there. The giveaway didn't start until 11 o'clock, and I got there at 8:45. There were some people that I called personally. Deb is in the audience. She represents the seniors at the Brennan Center. I called her specifically and said, hey, maybe you can come over, bring your list of seniors because they may not be able to get out. And they never once asked. And I worked a table as well as some of the other people that from my church and other organizations that were there. And they, all the requirement is that you had to have a valid ID, and even if you had a paper one, they did it. So I wasn't aware of that, and I wanted the record to show that that's not the way it was designed. I don't know who those people were, but we don't want to give faulty information out there. Now, Karen Weaver was there. She took part in that giveaway. And so I just want to let the record show that that wasn't the design of it. That wasn't the way the volunteers were trained. They were trained to give those filters to Flint residents. They couldn't be in Mount Morris. They couldn't be in Grand Blanc. And so just that for the record. And then Art had a question about the concern that he had about us voting for the ambulance service to occupy and lease the space. And he shared that he had a concern because he wanted to find out why we didn't see how the city could run its own ambulance service. I shared with him that it was my understanding, I could be wrong, that the city did try that at one time. And not only was it not profitable, but they took a loss. But I shared with him also that the city, in my opinion, is not in a situation to take on such a business venture. And anybody that starts their own business knows that there's a lot of things that need to happen before you can begin that process. So I just wanted to share that. And then also I just want to say, and then blight. I know that I can see her face, I can't remember her name, but she shared about the blight in the 7th Ward. There's Miss Shannon, right, thank you. I could see her face, but I couldn't. I'm sure that all my colleagues can give you a long list of blight, and there are some things that we're trying to do. The reality is it makes things very challenging when you don't have financial resources, and so I know that we're working on that. And I just would implore the constituents that come, I appreciate them coming. The thing that I struggle with is I don't understand how we think that it is okay because you have elected us that it's okay for us to speak so disrespectfully to one another. I believe that you can express yourself in a way that is not blatantly disrespectful. I just don't understand it, and I've had threats of people not voting for me, but I just want anybody on the record, I don't care who sees this, I do not give you permission to speak to me in a manner that is not respectful, just because I am an elected official. And the reason why I expect to be treated a certain way is because I expect to treat you respectfully. And there is a way that you speak to people. And in going forward, I want the record to show that I give myself, Councilwoman Galloway, permission to leave a conversation that is not progressing and in which I will not be abused, and I do not plan to abuse you. And so I want the record to show. And if that means that that is a part of being a council person, I don't buy it, I don't receive it, and I think it's disrespectful. And I just want that to be on the record. Thank you so much.
Councilman Winfrey? Councilman Nelson? Councilman Mays?
Mr. President, you can be disrespectful without cussing. It's how you act, it's how you respect and disrespect. I want that to be clear. I can see how the council, even you today, I know the rules. Ms. Galloway, I can tell you this. You can be disrespectful in your demeanor, the way you act, and so that's what I demand. I demand respect and equal treatment. I've chaired meetings, and I treat people equally. So I've seen that. But the point is this, over and over talking. I'm an action man. I've seen a motion fail today by this council to hold a meeting on price and quality. I've said to this council that Peter Bade and the legal staff has not been a quality legal staff, and that's some of the reasons for our problems. I've said in the past that this council has hired outside legal staff. You might not have been here to see it. I said that the charter dictates that we should swear people in, put them under oath, get to the price and quality issues, budget issues, public safety, police issues. You looking at a practice of a part-time council. I do believe, as sure as there's a God, that these orders that you call yourself living under of not being able to function are unlawful. I say they're unlawful. I say that they can't change the charter by emergency manager order. And until this council tests it out, and if they don't by a majority of 5 votes, I guarantee you I will take it in the court. I'm so embarrassed by what I experienced here today, Mr. Freeman, because when you came at me wrongfully, it woke the whole crowd up. And when you let Mr. Davis do differently by commenting to others, You are not chairing this thing in a fair manner. Florissa was right. It was March 4th meeting. She's seen it. We talked about it. She's in my ward. You said I'm discriminating for ward and gender. And the statute of limitations ain't told. And so I don't care if your leadership branches out to the colleagues. I don't care. I don't care if you allow Jackie Poplar to attack people and don't check her and don't have the police come up here and get her. I see all of that different treatment. The public sees it. Miss Galloway, when you say respect, you told me you couldn't support a council person who cussed. I have cussed before. And so you don't have to support me just because I use an obscenity, but I heard what you say. Believe me, I'm not walking like Jesus, but I know I can make it to heaven. So heaven ain't sacred only to people and council people from the 7th Ward. See, it says, judge ye not, but I heard what you said the other week about profanity. Some of these folks will make you cuss. But they can't make you, but when you do it, you ask for forgiveness and move on. So all that I'm hearing you caught up in and all of the judgment and the different treatment, I'm here to tell you, I've been a Christian since the 4th grade, walking the walk and moving toward my maker. Some of this stuff, like Donald Poplar, I ain't never said out of my mouth Wallen should be in jail. I said it's unlawful. When they thought I did something unlawful, Scott Kincaid, Wallen, Darnell and them, they was asking for my resignation. I done been found guilty, things overturned. Kincaid ain't apologized. You know, they was trying to keep me out before I got in. I'm reacting to these guys. See, from the time I ran, they came at me. And when I won and before I went to trial, they came at me. So when you see me reacting, don't get it twisted that I'm on the offense. I'm on the defense with these scoundrels. Anytime I do something wrong, and I can appreciate you, Mr. Freeman, you said I was wrong on appealing the decision of the chair. Mr. Kincaid ain't said I was wrong yet. Standing down there with the administration in his president position asking for my resignation. So I'm Donald Poplar wrong. I didn't say Wallen should go to jail. I said that if he'd unlawfully raised them water rates, and if Peter Bade unlawfully gave the law to him, and if Mr. Kincaid and others who was here didn't hold hearings and check him, they should maybe resign. So my conscience is clear. You can't be a Rome in a day. You can't make 5 people vote to hold meetings to look out for the welfare of these people, whether it's in water, public safety, crime. Since I've been here, they ain't did their job and ain't asked for outside legal counsel yet. So God bless you and God keep you. And I don't care what Ms. Poplar say, you say, or others. Judge me not, but I forgive those, for they know not what they do and say. Amen.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Moved and supported. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Kincaid? Yes. Mr. Mays?
No.
Ms. Poplar is absent. Mr. Nelson? Yes. Mr. Freeman?
Yes, yes, yes.
Mr. Winfrey? Yes. Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Ms. Van Buren? The vote is 6 yes, 2 no, 2 absent, and 1 no.
It's all you're up.